some balls and turn my camera on if I don't get kicked right away. All righty then, folks. I am sorry about the delay, you guys. One of the fun things of my job, notice the emphasis on fun, is that every hotel room I go to, the internet is different. And sometimes it's amazing and I have a router in my room, and then sometimes I have to put my phone by the window and use my phone as a hotspot because the internet in the hotel is not working at all, which is what I'm doing right now. So cross your fingers, fuckers. Okay, so this is what we're doing tonight. So everybody knows Holy Spackle. I think almost everybody here knows Holy Spackle. And, Spackle came to me and said, hey, me and this guy Navy want to have a discussion. We were talking about this and religion and trans stuff and puberty blockers, blah, blah, blah. And so Spackle said, how about we come on and talk to you and Ben? Unfortunately, Ben can't be here tonight. So I have the Ben number 2, and that is Sadie. Sadie is a scientist who knows a lot about this shit, and she has a trans child. So she is read up and current and way more brilliant than I am. Okay, so since my internet is crap, if I disappear, Dick Dawson is in charge. Dick's going to kind of moderate the whole thing for me, and he's going to take care of any questions you guys have in the chat. So if you have a question, at Dick Dawson, not me. He's going to take care
please don't
of
use big nasty words. No, I'm just kidding. It's all good.
Yeah. You guys be nice. He's my dick. Don't you pick on him.
So a couple things. One is I tried to tell you before you went live real quick that my food's here. So you'll run out the door real quick. But also, I just would like to say that Navy is always engaged courteously and courteously. But he is a little more conservative and has some different ideas than I do. So I always make sure I engage in a calm manner. So if it's upsetting, if any questions are a little bit upsetting or frustrating, or please understand that comes from a good place and not necessarily like, I'm out.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So let me clear this up just so everybody knows. My rule on my streams is don't be a dick. So if everybody is polite and respectful and not picking on each other and not talking over each other, not yelling and all that stuff, we will have a great discussion. And that's all I ask. I ask everybody to give each other respect. And recently people have been running amok a little bit on my open mics, and I'm going to announce right now to everybody that shit's stopping. I have to yell 3 or 4 times stop to get everybody to listen to me. That's stopping. And that people that come on and do that are not going to be allowed back if they continue it. So that being said, Spackle, did you say you had to run out for a second real quick? Is that what you said? Okay, she left already. Good. All right. So Navy, why don't you just kind of, introduce yourself to everybody. Tell us a little bit about yourself so we kind of know where you're coming from. How about that?
Okay. Yeah, sounds great. Yeah, so Navy Tech 37, like we were talking about before, active duty Navy and have been for over 20 years, getting ready to retire.
Nice. Thank you for your service.
Well, thank you very much. I hail from Texas, and like Spackle said, I am a little bit, more conservative, obviously, than she is when it comes to stuff, and so there's a lot of questions that pop up. And when she offered me this opportunity, we know that topics like this can get, very heated, right? And so she said, and it's happened before. And so she's like, hey, would you like to come to a place where, we can have these discussions and you can ask questions and kind of go into this and it'll be a, like a cool playing field, like just a great place to have this discussion.
Well, I'm glad. That's a big compliment for my channel. And I truly appreciate that. And you letting me know that was said. I love Spackle to death. She's a great lady, and she's tough, and she's smart, and she sometimes is absolutely hilarious. So yeah, no, I appreciate that. But yeah, no, I always welcome anybody on my channel. I've had some of the worst Christians that are irritating and people want to poke their eyes out in our community. And then I've had people like you all the way to people that are part of the Satanic Temple. So I'm good. I just like to have good discussions. And, I kind of do it selfishly because I can learn more too. So I have nothing, no issue with trying to figure out someone else's point of view. So I'm totally up for that. So, okay. So just to start us out here, everybody knows Dick. Hi, Dick.
Hello. How's everybody today?
And there's Dick, and everybody that doesn't know Dick Dawson, you're a fool, and you should go check out the Shills. He's amazing, and him and Amy Hogan have a blast, and they're a great crowd to hang out around. They're all big advocates. They're all loving, caring, great freaking people. So if you want to hang out somewhere where everybody has some shits and giggles and drinks and laughs and has a good time, then you should go over to the Shills. And they do like 4 days a week, so you can catch them from, what is it, Thursday through Sunday, Dick?
Yeah, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we even got 1 or 2 more coming. So it's going to be quite busy over there soon. Worth checking out.
Sweet. Yep. And it's usually like what, 7 p.m., 8 p.m. Eastern you start?
Yeah, 7 p.m. Eastern usually, except for Thursday. We go at 5 because that's the Ukraine invasion or news show. And Operator Starsky joins us each week. And since he's in Ukraine, we got to go a little earlier for the poor guy, right? Otherwise, he's up all night.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Well, thank you, Dick. I appreciate that. Sadie, are you back?
Yep, I'm here.
Welcome
all right.
back.
Excellent.
I'm
just
crunching,
real
so I don't
quick.
want to crunch in everybody's ear.
No, you're fine. I appreciate you keeping that on the DL while your mic's on. So if you don't mind, can you kind of like, because we do have some people in here that don't know who you are from over there coming over to help out Navy and hang out with Spackle. So if you could just kind of introduce yourself, Sadie, and tell us what you do and what your position is in this world.
So I am have left Christianity recently, and I have a son who's trans, and I'm non-binary.
Right.
And yeah. So
and what is your pursuit in life, career-wise?
I am working on a degree in immunology, hopefully. And I'm
excellent.
Spending some time in Cincinnati doing an internship.
Yep. Awesome. That's great. Okay, so thank you, Sadie. I appreciate that. And since Sadie is, like I said, she has a trans child and is in the science world, I'm going to lean on her a little bit tonight. Luckily, she's an amazing person and doesn't mind helping. All right, so Navy, why don't we just start this off? Just tell us what's on your mind. You have any questions that come to the top of your head? You can just ask a question and we can start there.
Let's see. First things first, let's see. So the aspect and the understanding of the difference between biology and gender. So I've heard multiple ways that people see this. Some see it, like I've seen trans people that see it as there's definitely a difference between biology and gender based on aspects of society and things like that. And I've seen others that would say that they are now, and have been done before, but are now again, melding together to be one and the same. To me, they look like very different aspects. And so I would like to get a perspective from y'all on that aspect.
All right. So who wants to start out? Spackle, I know you've talked to Navy in length before. So if you want to go,
This is the question that starts off where I myself am a little confused. So like I identify as she. I am not insulted if I am called they, because I think if I was to look at like a sliding scale of how I present and kind of my interests, I'm sort of headed towards the middle of masculine and feminine. But I don't identify as non-binary. I prefer she or they is okay. And I am bisexual. And so I've always kind of scratched my head about like, well, as somebody that's grown up in the church and had expectations on what girls are supposed to be, and I don't match up all those lines. I match some of them. I like Anna Green Gables, but I like GI Joes. I match some of these flips and bits and pieces. I was always kind of confused because I don't necessarily meet all the gender norms. I meet some of them but not all of them. And so if gender is how I see myself and feel about myself and present myself to the world, maybe I guess I view that as a moving part, and I don't know if I'm perfect in my understanding of it at all. And then I see biology as something that's a little bit separate, and then I see sexual attraction as another sliding scale, something separate. So I kind of see them as three moving parts and not just one altogether.
Right.
And I'm a little confused about gender myself, in the sense that I don't question my own gender per se. I don't know what I think about what it is. Like, is it how I feel I am and I identify? Is it what I do? A man can be nurturing, a man can be protective, a woman can be nurturing, or a woman can be protective. And that's where
A
I kind of
woman can go out and
oscillate.
work construction and bring home the bacon, and the man fries it up in the
Exactly.
pan. Happens all the time, right?
Right. So sometimes it kind of eludes me a little bit, to be honest.
Okay.
And that's one of the aspects too. I'm sorry to jump in right fast, but
No, go right ahead.
from what I understand, like, so there are aspects of what we call like societal gender norms that change throughout time, right? So where if you look at something like just to use something that's out there like Mad Men, right? The TV show Mad Men, and this idea of executives and what men should do, what women should do, and all this kind of stuff. And we see this changing throughout time. Obviously, I have a cousin who, up until she had her first child, was a firefighter, right? And
Right.
so this aspect of these gender norms changing, and men taking more like home roles or the roles of like nurses and things of that nature. That to me that makes sense, but I don't see where it blends. Like all of a sudden now, like biology and gender have to be one and the same to an extent. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but
I could touch a little bit on the biology.
Yeah, hold on just a second. I just want to say this real quick, and if I'm off too far, please let me know. Yeah, okay. You know what? I'm just going to use what Dr. Ben said, because he's going in the same freaking direction and he always says it better. Ben said gender is about the subjective experience of being a man or being a woman, and how we feel when society addresses us like a man or a woman. And that's the difference. Is people want to people kind of confuse, and I used to too. And I've been, I came out as a lesbian in 2001, and then last year, almost exactly 20 years later, the day I said, you know what, I'm trans. So here we are. So, the thing is that people mix up the difference between, gender or sex or sexuality, or, you can't mix all that into a pot. And that's what I used to do. So I understand where you're coming from on it. Absolutely.
Beck, would it be safe to say that gender as a word has evolved, just not everybody's aware?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And I think I figured it out, Dick. And this is, anybody around our age is going to get this. Ready? This is what it is. When the older we get, the more disconnected we are from the younger generations, the 20-somethings and early 30-somethings that are forming this. This is stuff that is formed by the past generations, where they're at today, and then the younger generations come in and say, you know what? We don't have enough names for these. We need to add names in, which is great. But then they discuss it among themselves, and it's in their, where they hang out and their age group and all this. And the older we get, the more disconnected we are from that. So it's harder for us to keep up, because we're not watching the same TV shows. We're not on TikTok, watching the same people they're watching. Some of us can be watching grandma knit a fucking, a sweater, and these kids are watching each other have these political debates. You know what I mean? So they're advancing so much quicker than we did when we were younger, and they're fine. They're taking the stuff that we started, and they're expanding more on it. They're getting more detailed, and I think it's great. I think it's amazing. But dude, I'm in the community and I can't keep up.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. I'm disconnected from the younger generations, and the older you get, I think the worse it gets.
I sometimes wonder that too, only because like someone's like, why don't you identify as non-binary? And I was like, because I'm not. Like I'm she, her. And then I still think I'm she, her, but I was like, why did that just kind of annoy me? And I was like, oh, it's like a new label. It's a new thing. And that just that annoyed me. And I was like, man, I'm an old person. I'm Gen X,
honestly,
so I'm like, oh, I don't want a new label.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even like the labels. And the only reason I use them is this. The only reason. I don't want to have to explain my life story to tell somebody who I am to avoid the label. Don't want to do it. So if I throw the label on there, people go, oh, okay, I know you in general enough to know how to deal with you. Good. So that's the only reason I use the labels. So yeah.
Yeah, it's shorthand, basically.
Yeah, it's shorthand, exactly. Yeah.
Out of curiosity, I touched on a subject, and I don't know if Sadie, if you're comfortable hitting on it. I'm curious. You had said that you identified as non-binary. Did you identify that before you left Christianity or during? Were you ever a progressive Christian, for instance?
I was in the United Pentecostal, so if that means anything to you, like
that was definitely no.
Yeah,
that was definitely no.
I had to have long hair. I had to wear skirts. I wasn't allowed to wear pants. I couldn't wear makeup, no jewelry. Like it was like stereotypical male and women, men and women, like how you present. And I never fit in that. I always struggled to like connect with the women. I connected probably more with the men, but that wasn't allowed because I was a woman.
You had to wear the long skirt.
Yeah, and I just never connected with women in that way. Like they would like go talk about like shoes and like their new purse and stuff like that, and it's just I just could never identify with like the women in that way. Yeah, so like, and I just hate to be called ma'am too. Like, it's like a visceral reaction. And I think it's because in the church, they called each other brother and sister. And I absolutely hated it because it was just like, I would be embarrassed if I saw somebody in public and I was like, oh, hi, sister, so-and-so. Like, I'm not a nun. We're not nuns or something. Like, it felt so awkward.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And it's invasive, so Navy, right? It's the self-declaration that you're family, and you're like, yeah, and I'm not that close.
And I just remember, like, when at my brother's wedding, my sisters wanted me to wear a dress, and I was pissed because I was like, I don't want to wear a dress, and they made me. And after I said, do not ever make me wear a freaking dress, and I told them that I was a lesbian, and like. At that time, and like I was still with my husband, so like I told them, and I was like, please don't say anything, because I was in the middle of like trying to decide to do what to do with my marriage, because like
did they lay hands on you?
They my sisters were like, it's about time you figured that out. So like they already knew. Wow. Yeah, like they thought I was gonna die an old maid because I never had a boyfriend until like I got married, and I just did good Christian girl did and got married.
Oh God,
got it.
I'm sorry. I don't want to get too off topic here. So, Navy, based on what we were telling you, is there anything else you want to ask further? Did we confuse you, help you at all? What do you say?
No, it's interesting to hear, because I know a lot of times there is almost an aspect of semantics, right? That we get into, because there's things like biological terms like male and female versus men and women, or masculine and feminine, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's always been something that we've seen a lot. But I guess the biggest question I have is that where is the understanding that there is a difference between the biological and the gender? Because a lot of stuff that gets, yeah, please.
So I'm a biology student, and I've been doing a lot of like research, like studying on this. And if you look at like how hormones play into people like women and men, we can have unbalanced like levels of estrogen, testosterone. Like there's women that have too much testosterone. So, and then there's also like intersex people that don't have X and Y chromosome. They may have like 2 X's and a Y, or 3 X's or just 1 X. So like,
right.
Even though gender is like X and Y, but it's not really. There's so much more to biology than just your genetics. There's like your hormones. There's your psych, like how you feel. There's just so much to it. And I wish Ben could talk, because he might be able to say something.
There's a lot of moving parts.
Because that's what I was trying to wonder, is because the aspect of, so if you look at it, like when like we were talking about before, between biology and gender, even the psychological aspect is that something that, while it can be a biological process, but it ends up being a perspective, right? So it's how you see yourself, which turns it into gender, right?
Mm. Yeah.
I mean, does that make sense? Because there's so biological makeup is that, we have there are there are within science, within, you know, we watch the aspect of humanity as it goes. There are, you know, a small percentage that don't fit the majority, I guess is a good word to use, right? But there is a majority aspect to it as well, right? When the difference between males and females, there is a majority aspect, and you're going to have cases where there are unique circumstances that don't adhere to, I guess the best way to say is like the majority aspect, right? Is that not something like that, having a majority versus a minority of certain things that do happen that are, I wouldn't necessarily call them one-offs, but just like, you know, outside of the majority. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so like for instance, some women are like a Xena warrior princess, like more testosterone, and they're more of an outlier. Maybe their bone structure's bigger and stuff like
Outliers is a
that.
good word, yes.
Yeah.
But there's
Hold on, I'm here on the wrong account. Let me switch back.
okay.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Ben.
And then there's some men that are outliers that are slender built and very thin and, you know, kind of light, you know.
Aren't we looking for androgynous in this respect a bit? Because
androgynous has something to do with like how you display yourself versus.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I would say
gender.
I'm more androgynous than anything. Like I've always been more that since I was a kid. And I think that's where like I think it makes it really challenging to say that gender is black and white when you have a 3-year-old that's presents as a male saying, I know I'm a girl. Like, how could you like indoctrinate that into a child that young?
It is so not black and white. It's not even black, white, and gray, because you can't say just gray because there's about 10 shades of gray in the middle between the black and the white.
Yeah.
So nothing's
so
like that.
It makes it very
difficult in the world.
to
That's
say
unrealistic.
that like we choose our gender when a 3-year-old that presents male says, no, I'm a girl. Like,
Well, yeah, but that would be the difference though, right? That's the difference between biology and gender, is that gender can be of itself your self-understanding, your self-expression of what you are. But biology is something that is, you know, like a scientific aspect of, because you have this or because you have that, you fall into this category based on hormone levels, based on bone density, based on muscle twitch fibers and all this kind of stuff. But then, so that to an extent is something that is very, you know, more clear cut than the aspect of gender, because like I said before, the aspect of like gender roles in society are fluid. We've seen this happen without the aspects of understanding a trans aspect, just the aspect of what we've seen happen from the 1920s to 2020, right? Is the aspect of this societal expectation of gender roles has evolved and changed. So, but the aspect I'm looking at with biology is that it seems like we always come back to the gender aspect, which is fine. But what I'm looking at is that is there an understanding that there is a biological aspect that is more set in stone to an extent? Now,
can I chime in?
Yeah, please.
Yes, please.
Absolutely, it is not more clear cut with biology. And saying that the biology is even close to a binary, absolutely not an argument we should be making, and absolutely not where we should be going, because we cannot consider intersex as outliers. That is an incredibly incorrect argument, because we're not talking about just, are you fitting in one box or another box? There's not just one type of sex. And you get into this argument that the TERFs have a lot, where they will say, well, the keystone factor that assigns you to male or female is, and they will try to find one. The problem is there is not one thing. You have your genotypic sex, you have your phenotypic, and your phenotypic can be your external genitalia and your internal, and those might not align. And you have hormonal, and all of these factors don't necessarily align. And there's such incredible variation, even in people whose traits do align. And a lot of people might not even know that they're anywhere in the middle of the, like, spectrum is a weird word, but there's multiple combinations you can have and you might not even know. So this is an argument I don't want to just let the TERFs have. Because you can separate biology and gender, but I don't think that helps. And I think it gives them more arguments to hang on to as to why it doesn't line up with science. If that's
Ben,
you know
can you help clear that?
Ben, let's keep in mind though, the Navy's here to ask, to learn, not stating anything as fact. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you did. I'm just, I don't want to. Yeah, I just don't want to get anybody like Beck was saying. We don't want anybody to start yelling. Let's keep it nice.
Yeah,
and I know how passionate you can, talk your stuff. I understand it, right? And I just wanted, like, as much as anything, Navy, don't think he's, yelling or anything. That's just Ben, because it's student Dr. Ben for a reason.
And he is very passionate about what he does. He's very matter of fact. He's very adamant, and he knows what the hell he's talking about.
Yeah, I'm very passionate.
Just so you know,
Yeah.
Ben, just so you know, I put Dick in kind of a moderator position since we're talking from two different sides. So he's going to moderate tonight. Okay, carry on, guys.
Okay,
this is like discussion format, not debate format too.
Yeah.
I'm not debating.
Fair
I'm not debating.
And Dick's
my point is that, like, something that really bothers me is when people who don't like have education in these subjects try to like think it's super simple, because it's absolutely not. And that really bugs me when people try to do that. So if I come across passionate, like, that's why, because like I think there's no way to really understand the depth of the subject without going through
that's why I was like, I need Ben, because like I see the biology and I see like the mental, like the psych, but it's like so complex. Like it's not just like black and white.
Like embryology is a class that will wreck med students.
Right.
It's so difficult. So it's just like simplifying the science down. Like, I don't know. I see a lot of people that will claim, well, you all don't know basic science because this, like, no, but the problem is the majority of people are latching onto basic science and not moving beyond the basic science.
Right. Even less than that, Ben. It's almost armchair knowledge of, 3 generations ago or whatever, right? It's bad.
Well, you guys got to remember, part of the problem is, like, look at where I grew up, right? A lot of people grew up in the city. I grew up out in the country. I didn't have exposure to shit. I was an ignorant fuck when I hit 18. I had no idea what I did not know. And by the time I was 23, my entire world had changed. Like, 180 degrees 5 times. Like, it was insane. So, I think a lot of it is, where we are all influenced by our direct environment, the people we're around, what they have to say. If you go to church, you're going to hear more Christianly things. If you don't go to church and you're like at the laundromat on a Sunday, you might talk to an atheist or agnostic. It just depends on where you're at in your world. And if you're in that, whatever world you're in that influences you, it sucks you in deeper and deeper because that's where you're comfortable. And then you end up either misinformed or just unknowledgeable because you're not looking in those other corners of the world around you that don't affect you.
I think anybody can create a bubble, so you can even swing to another side or another position and form a new bubble, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
I remember
the older you are, the more susceptible, due to the fact that we only had bubbles. We didn't have the internet. So, old habits and stuff, right? I think there's something there too.
Absolutely. My exposure to the internet changed my perspective on everything. I used to be a person who, quite frankly, nobody here would have wanted to hang out with, to who I am today. And most of you know who I am. So,
fucking awesome.
I had a lot of
Kyle here, the good Kyle. This is the good Kyle.
No, he is the Kyle. I just denounced every other Kyle because there's no other Kyle in my part of the community at all. So he is the Kyle to me.
I've never met another Kyle.
Oh, there's Kyles everywhere actually in the community, but you'd have to go into farther reaches.
Yeah.
I remember
on the other side, we don't hang out in much.
I remember I didn't have much exposure either, but I remember like having so much inner turmoil with church because I would ask them, what would you do if a gay person walked in the door? What would you do if so-and-so walked in the door? How would you treat them? And I think it was just me trying to see how they would treat me, but like, I just didn't understand it.
Yeah. You were looking at it from more of an outside point of view than a me thing, right?
Yeah, but I was asking questions.
I feel like you and I could definitely have a long conversation about that for sure. But I wanted to ask, so another common question that a lot of conservative folks ask is, well, what happens with puberty blockers? Is it safe? Like, how long is it going to negatively affect, especially if I say this wrong, I'm sorry, female to male transition? Is that going to, like, what if they change their mind? Is that going to harm them? And then they're going to have a bone density issue, or their genitalia is not going to be big enough, or whatever. I don't know. Like, they always come up with these arguments. I was wondering, Ben, you addressed that probably in the best way I've ever seen. I was wondering if you could address that.
I got you. Okay, so the puberty blocker in question is a GnRH agonist. So it works by, it actually stimulates your reproductive system to produce hormones to then shut down the pathway. So it's an like a feedback inhibition mechanism.
Wow.
But what happens is, it's a blocker's kind of a misnomer, and it kind of scares people because it's more of a pauser. Because what it essentially allows is for, and you can't start this on anyone on it who is prepubescent, because you need a puberty to pause. So you put them on this medication, and it gives them time before their puberty advances to a point where it's irreversible. Because puberty is absolutely irreversible. There are aspects of it that you cannot go back from. So it essentially pauses the process and gives you enough time to talk to your therapist, like your psychotherapist, talk to your doctors, talk to your whole team. And then it just puts everything on pause and says, okay, do I want to go forward with a transition on hormone therapy, or do I not? And the thing is, you start on this, and you can only really be on it for 2 years by itself. After that point, like by about 2 years, like even long before then, you should be at a point where you can say, yes, I do want to go forward with transition, or no, I do not. And if you don't want to, then you're taken off the puberty blocker and you start back your regular endogenous puberty as you normally would have. If you do want to go on hormone replacement therapy, then you can start that. But oftentimes, depending on your age, you'll be on the puberty blocker at first along with the HRT, because the problem is you want people to develop at a rate that is consistent with their peers. So you don't want to be giving them an adult level of hormone therapy. You want to slowly work it up until they're ready to be at that. But especially for people who are transitioning from female to male, you do want to keep them on the blocker with the testosterone, because you need that level of block to stop menstruation, because the amount of testosterone you need to block menstruation is a lot higher than you want during adolescence. So essentially, like, the concerns for side effects with these medications happen after that 2-year period. So if I were to leave you on just the puberty blocker for more than 2 years, that's when I'd start to see things like bone density issues. But we're not leaving kids on it for that long. And if we are, we're adding on HRT, which is going to counteract that process. So yeah.
So this is something that should not be started prepubescently, correct? Is what you're saying?
Well, it wouldn't be, because it just wouldn't do anything.
Okay, because that's like, I guess, like, a lot of the understanding that you get is, like, when you say like puberty blocker, you know, is like you were saying, there's a misunderstanding where you are blocking puberty from happening. To allow
no, you have to be started in puberty. You have to be Tanner stage 2, which is the beginning of puberty, at least.
Could that be age 11? Because I think I had my first period at 11.
Well, some people start at 9 or 10. It just depends. And that's the problem. And Ben, finish this off for me and tell me where I'm wrong. But, you know, some kids, when they're starting too soon, that can actually mess them up. And the puberty blockers, even for kids that I'm not talking about trans kids, I'm talking about just regular whatever, sis. They don't know kids, whatever. Oh my God. I looked at the chat. Ben, you want to finish that for me? I lost it. ADHD.
Yeah. So you actually use this on children that are younger to stop puberty that happened too soon. So if you start puberty at 8 or earlier, that's precocious puberty, and that's when we would use this. So we know these medications are safe for children. We use them regularly for children younger than the age that they would be starting puberty.
Yeah, every so often there's a young child that will develop puberty at 8, and that seems like it's a more modern day thing, I think. But yeah, I've heard about that.
So I have a question about that. And Sadie, Sadie, correct. You have a child that is transgender. What is the process that you went through, if you don't mind talking about this?
We haven't used blockers because Dad won't allow it. So we're
I'm sorry, that it wasn't about the blockers itself. It was about the actual like psychological aspect of, because in our current society, right, as as progressive as we have become, right, children, i.e. people under the age of 16, 17, 18, right, depending on where you are, have not fully mentally developed. So how do you determine, when we don't allow them to do other things, that this is something that they can completely understand?
Let's just say with my youngest, I knew well before they did that this is the path we were going to be going down. I saw them heading towards like going down this path at 5, but they didn't start to talk about it until puberty happened, and that's when I saw the dysphoria.
Was there any specific like things you could specifically remember, like, when you went, oh, okay, that behavior specifically, or that mannerism, or blah, blah?
They were a little me. That's how I knew, because I was like that when I was a kid. And I don't know, like, I think if I would have understood what it meant to be trans at their age, I probably would have at least thought about it at that age.
It's never too late.
It's hard to know. Like now, I know that I wouldn't. I'm perfectly happy being non-binary, but like at that age, when I was younger, I know I was thinking about it. I didn't understand it because it was back in the 80s. So
can I pick your brain, all of your brains, and I don't want to sound horrible, but I'm glad that my parents didn't just say like, hey. Well, let me rephrase this. We would like to think that our parents know us well enough to know what our attractions are, how we identify, things like that. But sometimes they don't. My parents did not. And so some parents are really in tune, some aren't, and I don't want to judge like who's who in the mix. So I mean that respectfully. But I would say this, that if my parent had assigned me male, or I don't want to say it that way, if my parent said, yes, you're a male, just because I played like a boy, and meaning my mannerisms sometimes are very guyish.
You're tomboyish.
I would play war with my cousins. Anytime I was a big like theatrical kid, like definitely theatrical, make believe, put on costumes,
dramatic,
things like that.
Okay.
Like costumes. No, not crying and stuff like that. Costumes.
No, I know. I was just teasing.
And like today, I'm a cowboy. I'm at war. Like da 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 da. I was always a character, and every character I played, I would play a boy, because I was convinced that boys were the ones that had all the adventures. And so I actually came from, Christian kind of patriarchal mindset of like boys have all the fun. So when I play, and my persona of play is a boy, because boys have fun.
Yeah. And see, I was not a tomboy, but like, and I don't, that was never a part of who I was back then. I was never a tomboy. And my kid wasn't really a tomboy either. Like I saw them like gravitate towards like Pokemon and things like that. But like, I didn't ever, like, I just kind of had a sense that we were going to have this, and I didn't ever like talk to them about it. I just let them lead me. And and just kind of watched them grow. And when the period started that it really hit. And that's when we did have talks because it was really bad. It was really bad.
Really, really adverse feelings towards it.
They just totally didn't acknowledge that they were bleeding at all. They would just not even acknowledge it. It was just like, they would just bleed all over the place and not even acknowledge it. And that's how we just had to talk about it because I just knew that it wasn't normal.
Yeah.
My oldest child kind of toyed around with it a little bit, but I always knew that she was not trans, but I took her to therapy and she said, I'm trans. And I said, okay, we'll go to therapy. But I knew that eventually she would come around. I just am very in tune with my kids. So I don't know how to explain it more than that, but I just knew.
You know your kids.
But when my oldest said she was trans, and I was like, well, crap, I'm going to have two of you because I already knew that my youngest was heading down that pathway.
Yeah, it was very clear.
And I was like, what am I going to tell their dad? Because their dad is definitely going to think I'm indoctrinating them, even though I'm.
Oh, yeah, you did something. What are you doing to my children?
Yeah, and I just let them lead, and I supported them through the journey. And that's what the therapist said. It's a journey. Some kids will start the journey and then they'll stop in the middle. Some will go all the way to the finish line. And it's just and it's a journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know my journey ended with me being more androgynous because that was my journey. Maybe if I would have been a kid today, it may have been different, but that was my journey. And that's where I cut off, was in the middle. Some people go all the way, they're binary all the way to the other end,
Yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate your
answer,
so and I know that it's a sensitive issue, so I appreciate your candor.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Okay, so Navy, what do you think? What's your next thought, next question?
Let me think for a second because first off, I'd like to say thank y'all for letting me in here. Right, I didn't get a chance to say it before. I should have said it. I want to say it before, but the thing is that in this day and age, we are bombarded with all aspects of social media, and so you get the extremes of everything. And Becca, I told you before, I'm a practicing Christian, and the times that I have to defend myself against the extremes of Christianity is every day. Right?
Oh, I bet.
So, man, trust me, we know what they're like. They attack us all the time just because we're breathing and we don't go to church. So we get it. Trust me.
I get attacked because I don't support certain things. I'm okay with, homosexual lifestyle, go do your thing. Right.
Right.
And that's one of the things I would like to put out is that, the child aspect is one thing that is interesting to talk about because for me, if you're an adult and you feel this way, you go do your thing. I'm asking questions because I'm trying to understand what's going on. And seeing how that, kind of plays with what I've seen. And so my question is, what do y'all think are we're as a Christian, I have to deal with things like the Westboro Baptist Church, right? As far as people who claim to be, Christian doing all this kind of craziness and being in the military, having to deal with them at funerals is right.
Yeah.
So where do y'all see are the extremes in the trans community that are actually giving a bad name to the trans community?
Well, the first thing I want to say about that is every single community, it's kind of, I tell you, Navy, it's kind of like this. I always say, somebody will say, man, that guy was an asshole. And I'm like, well, there's 20 people in here. I think 1 out of 20 pretty much is an asshole. It's the same thing in every group genre of people.
Damn right.
There's 1 in 20 that's some extreme crazy bastard, and he is the loudest, squeakiest wheel, and so he gets the most attention because he's fucking nuts, and people listen to him because they think it's stupid and funny, and then they spread the idiot around, and then they're like, oh, look, I told you all the agnostics are idiots, or see, I told you all the Christians are bigots, or, and this is where we get all this stereotyping and this crap that gets mixed up, but that's my thought on it.
Can I throw out some names?
Oh, please go.
You got names?
I love it when you get
That's kind of what I was asking is that what do you see?
Well, there's one that's absolutely terrible that we all know about, and that is Caitlyn Jenner.
Oh my God.
She's trans, but absolutely transphobic. Other names similar, Buck Angel, similar case. A few other people in the community that you probably wouldn't have heard of, but like there are a bunch of people in the trans community who view being trans as a mental disorder, and actively are against trans rights. So yeah, we have several people in this community, and I think Katie Montgomery made a video about these people essentially, and it's her I think it's the video. If you go to her channel, it's the video that you see first, but it's basically, it's like one of the good ones saying like, oh yeah, well, I'm a trans person, but I'm on your side, referring to like the transphobes, and it gives like the awful people a way to justify their transphobia because they have trans people that agree with them. So we have plenty of people in our community like that.
I don't understand how somebody who's trans can align with interests that go against themselves.
Yeah. Well, in case of Caitlyn Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner is an ivory tower of wealth and can afford to have anything done without a blockade, pretty much, and completely different lifestyle and privilege, shall I say, of wealth, right? So I think Caitlyn's focus is very different than a lot of other people's focus. A lot of times, wealth is not. In fact, if I was to notice something about the trans community, I'd notice that they're disproportionately unwealthy because society doesn't accept them very well. Oftentimes, it's getting better, but disproportionately unwealthy, disproportionately rejected by their family. And Caitlyn has none of that. Very different experience.
Well, they're so Hollywood. It's definitely a strange place to be. Tex, you were just doing a follow-up question there, weren't you? Didn't I catch that?
Oh yeah, I was just going to ask. Do you think that there are those that are out there that are, that's a good word to put it, like that are not extreme in the aspect of going against the trans identity in this aspect, right? But are, I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this, are using it to make themselves someone who needs to be known, I guess is a good word, right? Like they're using it and going extreme with it because there's so many aspects to it. Like this is such a topic that has so many aspects to it, right? When it comes to what is someone who is trans, someone who is trans, someone who is, when it comes to like physical aspects, just saying it, right? So that's one thing that I've had to try to like understand is that how is it an aspect of and that's why this is hard. That's one of the reasons why I want to come in here is because I want to ask these questions. They're hard questions, and I want to come in to get a perspective. So, you have people who I guess would abuse the ability to just say that I'm trans. Okay, how do y'all see that, and how does it work as far as what does it mean, right? Because there are people out there who will go through everything to kind to like present, and those who don't, right? So how does that work? Because it's very confusing to try to understand how this works when it's one thing to see someone who is male to female do the best they can to present male to female, or female to male to present the best they can to do this because it's how they see themselves, right? But then there's others who don't, who just so how does that work? Like that's something that's very confusing. If that makes sense, I'm sorry.
I think, is there a clarifying way? Let me see here. There's like two different questions mixed in there. One, it seems like it's like about presentation. The other one seems like it's about declaration. So like,
yes, no, 100%. Yeah.
Let's say I declare myself male, and I use the men's restroom, but I present female. Is that what you're saying? Or if I hate using the restroom argument, because I by the way, I live in California where everybody shares a restroom and nobody gives a fuck. It's fine. But I'm just saying, like, or let's say male to female, like, well, I want to, and you're a wrestler or something, and it's a contact sport, then you flip. Those are usually concerns and questions I hear a lot of conservatives say. And are you talking about in that realm of like, well, what happens when somebody doesn't seem like they're going through the transition, but they've self-declared that they're going through the transition, but they have a Viking beard or something, and like it's like, well, I'm confused, or
well,
okay.
so that before we get into the aspect of like like sports and stuff like that, which is something I do want to ask about. Yeah, just the aspect of like the presentation versus declaration. How is that seen, and how? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's it.
So, but real quick question, and like, and I'm asking this honestly. What do you think? Like, do you think people would gain anything by pretending to be trans?
To answer honestly, yes,
death threats,
100%. Well, no, I mean, even like, so we talk about the whole like, so Spackle brought up the bathroom issue, right? It's something that I have thought about a lot, right? So if because of the fact of how attacks happen, the fact is that the truth is that more men attack women more than women attack men, right? Okay.
True.
So growing up that way, growing up and understanding that this is a unfortunate aspect of me being a male, right? That males are more likely to do this.
Yep.
If you're looking at this aspect where like we'll just use the bathroom aspect, like the straight user, right? If I am in a store and I watch my niece and my sister, who's like 110 pounds dripping wet, right, walk into a bathroom, and I see someone, because of the fact of the the policy of the store, and I know this is this was a national thing. If I see someone who is jacked, or even just a like presenting very very male in general, because of the store's policy, walk in there, there's going to be an aspect of me that's going to be like, I don't know, I'm not going to be okay with it, right? So how does the aspect of presenting come across? Like it's hard to ask. Like how does it show an intent versus possibly trying to use it to do nefarious things?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Let me hold on. I'm going first on this one.
Okay, but I instead like I wanted to ask a question, like instead of just going straight into
talking go ahead and ask why, first,
but
and
like
then we'll go on our side.
Yeah.
Right?
From to your knowledge, Navy, who are the people that perpetuate these kinds of negative acts? What population of people are seen doing these?
Men, right? Males.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Be more specific.
So, yep.
You can be more specific in that. How about we go with how about straight white males?
Yes, no, 100%.
So do we have evidence? Do we have evidence of trans women or people stating that they're trans women? Do we have much evidence of people in that population being the primary perpetrator of these incidents?
You have rare incidences, like the case of Chris Chan, where he did something to his mother. Very rare incidents.
Yeah, so think about the population of these incidents. Are the majority of these people presenting as cis men?
So the answer I have to that is that when you have policies that are obviously like a place like Target or something like that, as a private company, they can do what they want. If they say that you don't, all you can do is you can go and use whatever you want, then
So
there is
currently, what
that
is
fear that's in the back of your mind that if something like that, like if someone walks in there, right, that is obviously presenting as male, right, that there could be an issue because the problem is, I guess it comes from the traditional aspect of, the way I was raised, obviously, right, is that you protect those like women and children, right? Women and children, protect women and children.
So what is stopping, if anything, what is stopping cis men from doing this? And if so, if that is such a deterrent, then why are we seeing so many of these incidents still happening? Is there anything stopping them?
Nope.
I'm sorry.
They
What do you
can
mean?
walk right in there and snatch a child if they want.
Well, so
Yeah,
if
so
I'm if
people
I'm
who
if I'm
want
with
to do
if
this
I'm
are
with
doing
them,
it anyway, right?
well,
Yep.
yeah, but if I'm with them and I see this, and because the thing is, you're going to try to prevent this from happening at all costs, right?
So
So
then
the
what
main,
is
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so do you think that making a law or making a policy would prevent the people that are going to do this from doing it
Well, I mean, obviously not,
without
because
dressing
people
up?
like, well, no, but people are going to. I mean, people break the law all the time. Like you can make laws to to
Yeah.
blue in the face, right? People are going to break the law. But the thing is that there are aspects of being preventative to try to alert people to say, hey, look, this is not right, or this is odd, or like this is out of the norm, which may signal that it is something that is, you know, it could be something that's bad. Like, um, I mean, seeing someone case a place, seeing someone, there's a bunch of things that you could look at that you've been told or look at and say that, these are aspects where you need to be on a higher guard, right? And that is what I'm talking about than anything else. Like you say, you can write policies and laws all day long. People are gonna, if they want to break the law, they're gonna break the law.
So
But there's
Can I
say
say something?
we have
Wait a
somebody
minute.
who I'm going on a line of questioning.
Go ahead, Ben. You're
Um,
fine. I'm
so
telling everybody else to hold on.
so if you let's say you have somebody who is a cis woman who has some more testosterone than you'd expect, or has some more masculine traits, or maybe is a butch lesbian who likes to present masculine. How do you think, if we started putting policies in place to keep people on guard and watching for imposters in the bathroom, how do you think these people who don't necessarily fit the stereotypical definition of a woman, how do you think those would be affected by this?
There's another way to look at this.
I want to hear Navy answer the question.
I think that, unfortunately, it's part of society and having to protect ourselves. There's nothing equal or even about it. Like, there's nothing fair about it. So unfortunately, it's just part of, like, if I'm 5'8", right, but I'm a big guy, right? Workout, military, all this kind of stuff, right? There's going to be an aspect where if I'm walking down the street and a woman's in front of me and it's dark, right, and it looks like I'm following her, she's going to be afraid, okay, to an
Of
extent,
course.
okay. And there's nothing I can do about that. Like, I'm not following her on purpose. We may live on the same block. We may live in the same apartment complex, right? And it just so happens that she and I are walking home at the same time because we work, based on work or whatever, right? But I can't fault her for being weary. I can't fault her for being, a little bit spooked at the fact that there's a guy who is, bigger than her, who is following her at night, right? So how does, I mean,
So do you think
that feels like
so if you had a cis person, a cis woman who, say, looked like Beck, right? Beck looks pretty masculine. Do you think that that person should be kicked out of a bathroom because they were clocked as being a trans woman or clocked as being a man? Do you think that those people should be kicked out, and should they use the men's room, or what should they do?
Well, from what I understand, if you are like, and don't get me wrong, like I said, one of the reasons I'm here is to ask these questions to kind of like figure out what's going on, right? So if and correct me if I'm wrong, Beck, but do you use the women's bathroom?
Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about me so you know where I'm coming from on this.
Please.
I identified as female all of my life until last year and lied to myself, and I was miserable. At 5 years old, I looked at my mother and told her I was mad because I didn't have a penis. As I got older, I would fight with my mother all the way through my childhood because she kept wanting me to wear girly clothes and I kept putting on jeans and a t-shirt. It was like a problem, according to her. And so last year I met all these amazing people on here and I said, what the fuck am I doing? What the fuck am I doing? It's not too late. I'm 50. I'm only like right around halfway through my fucking life. What am I doing? So,
or less, we hope.
More, I hope. No, I'm fine as long as my brain works. Fuck everything else. I don't care. Yeah, so that's where I'm coming from on it. Okay, so let me tell you this. My entire life, from the moment I joined the Army at 18 years old to last year, I got dirty looks and I got comments and I got attacked verbally by women in the bathroom because I was walking in the bathroom of my gender, of my born given freaking gender. So I spent my entire life being harassed because I was in the correct bathroom, but I have a strong jawline. I am muscularly built. I have worked in, hands-on trades my entire fucking life. I grew up in the country. I was corn-fed. So I'm not a little tiny scrawny person. And I got a little bit of weight on me right now too, but not the point. So when I walked into those places in a muscle shirt or whatever I was wearing that day, I would literally have to tell people, yeah, I know what it says on the door. I can read. And just in case someone can't, there's even a little picture because I got attacked so much. It was so ridiculous that it got to the point of being funny. And my family, my sisters would follow me in the bathroom so they could laugh at the people that are going to go off on me. And then we could go talk about it and laugh about it later. Oh like God. It was a thing in my family. It was my entire life.
Wow, 18, your whole life.
18 until 50 years old.
Wow.
I think
32.
Navy just missed that entire point.
Huh?
Okay, yeah, but hold on. Back to that point. I was listening.
Okay.
Back to that point, right? So Navy, like I think I get what you're saying because I mean myself, 6'1", 185 pounds on a light day, long hair down to my ass. Like when people turn around and look at me, I'm not somebody you fuck with, right? And if I was in, let's say, a shopping mall going down the little hallway to get to the bathroom and I saw like a dude that looks like somebody who's, maybe a bit of a fucker coming out of the bathroom, the woman's bathroom with a kid in arms and maybe acting a tiny bit sketch, I would stop on the dime and watch that person and listen carefully for any shenanigans that might be going because I can help and intercept. And if the bathrooms were just simply gender neutral, get rid of the urinals and just have a whole whack of stalls and blah, blah. And, one for parents with kids and with the pull down little diaper changes and blah, blah. All of that stuff kind of just goes away. Is that good because now we don't have those cues? Maybe. Is it bad because sometimes those cues are correct? Like I can spot a drug addict from 50 feet, 100 feet, no problem, man. So, every now and then those cues are good, but I think in this situation, they're the wrong ones.
It feels like less of a trans problem and more of a predator problem.
Yeah, it's more of
it literally is.
Yes, that's just the whole thing. It comes down to we've got the odd situation in social aspects where you can just go red flag moment and we lose one of those. But at the same time, you're more apt to find the real ones then if you're somebody who can spot it. So I don't think it's a fall.
Yeah, there's actually
that you can find people like that in churches too and anywhere else that are predators and would prey on children, and you might not even notice because you think that you're safe because you're in a church and that people are good, but I've seen the opposite. So like I think it can happen anywhere.
It can happen anywhere. Yeah, so it can happen anywhere. It can be your Boy Scout leader.
And churches, predators prey on that because they feel like they are somewhat safe because everybody thinks that they're a good person. but they might not be a good person. They might be a wolf in sheep's clothing that's hiding and molesting children, and you wouldn't even know.
Or they might just be so fucked up in their head that they don't even know what the hell they're doing, that they think they're a child playing with other children. Because literally some of them think that.
Like
and
Michael
by the
Jackson.
way, real child predators, child molesters do not see children as children. They have a screwed up definition of what an adult and a child is.
Yeah,
they've actually done psychological studies on them and had them draw pictures of children, of someone that they would want to have sex with or something like that, right? And the people always look like kids. They don't look like adults. They literally, a lot of them cannot differentiate. So, how do you fix that illness? But anyways, that's not the point. The point is really what I was trying to say is there's way too much crap of trying to point fingers at trans people. Are there maybe some sick motherfuckers out there that try to dress like women and sneak in the bathroom? Yeah, but you know what, buddy? They're not going to do that. Because if they consider themselves, because now remember, those, cis white guys that are child molesters and do shit like this, that percentage, they also identify as straight. So they don't want to be seen in women's clothing because then that would make them look gay. So the chances of one of those guys who identify as straight, cis het white male, walking in there in women's clothing, dude, slim to none. Slim to none. Most abductions aren't in Home Depot bathroom. They're like at the park or McDonald's where you can get out of the building fast. Like, people worry about some shit way too much. Everybody needs to read their statistics, look at what the most common denominator is, and worry about that. Don't worry about all of it. You worry about all of it, you're going to drive yourself to an early grave.
Something else here too. There's actually a really weird trend, especially on Twitter right now. It's basically a witch hunt, where people are trying to.
That's what we need.
Yeah, they're trying to. They're taking pictures of celebrities that people know are like. People know these people are cis. We know they're cis women, and people are trying to point them out as being trans women. Like they'll take bikini pictures of
transvestigation.
They were doing that with Michelle Gaga. Yeah, Lady Gaga, Michelle Obama.
So this is what happens when you get people hyped up about trying to find out who's trans and who isn't. Like the people who are losing here are cis women.
It's and society as a whole.
Women. It is hurting cis women.
My aspect is not someone who, what I was talking about and what I was trying to get to is that it's not someone who dresses like, or tries to present female that walks into a female bathroom, right? Because the thing is that when I was younger, growing up, like I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, right? Like I'll be 40 this year, okay? I have cousins who are, very masculine looking to an extent, okay? Who have beards, they have to shave and stuff like that and all this kind of stuff. That wasn't the issue. The issue was, and what I was trying to address is that because of the aspect that, and I'm not trying to blame trans people, so please don't take it that way. Because of this has become something more, especially in society. The reason I used the bathroom thing was because of like the policies that were put in place where it doesn't matter what you look like, you can go in if you want to, right? And that people would have an issue with that. It had nothing to do with men dressing up like women, right? To try to get into a woman's bathroom. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think that goes to what Spackle and I were saying in the back chat. You just need the bathrooms neutral, and you've ended so many of the situations and whatnot. It needs it's obvious, isn't it?
Well, so like our guidelines for bathrooms are kind of designed stupid, like the stalls are open and stuff like that. But like, for instance, at Yard House, I don't know if you guys have a Yard House by you, but Yard House is a big, huge bar that has every kind of beer you have imaginable. And it's a chain, and it's like a big, giant Irish pub. And inside their bathroom is a stall. And in California, they're unisex. So guess what? You can share the same sink area, whatever. It's all public, which really isn't that bad. But guess what? When you do your business in the stall, it's like a tiny little room. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. That is literally what I have been saying. And there's more fast food restaurants, gas stations.
Starbucks is doing that more too in their new buildings.
And I like to clarify that when I'm out with my niece and nephew and my sister, my mother and all this kind of stuff, I'm on like 360 with them all the time, right? It's not just this aspect. I was just using it as an example. Like if there's a creepy guy that gets next to them or talks to her too much, right? And I'm on high alert. Like it's not something that would just
So would I
have
be.
anything to do with trans people, right?
Everybody would be, man.
Well, yeah, and that
Just
is
because you
what
love
I'm
them.
saying is, of course, right? And so I was just using that as an example of the point I was, kind of trying to make about some of the things that were happening that have happened in society recently that haven't existed before, right? And so there's never a 100% way to deter anything, unfortunately. Like you said, you can make laws and policies all day long. People want to break them, they're going to break them. But there are certain things that we like as a growing up as a cisgender male that I've been taught to look out for when it comes to my mother, my sister, and my niece and nephew. And so that's really all I was trying to say. Like it wasn't nothing against like people dressing like women, walking in the women's bathroom. So
yeah, well, that's two different things. No, I get what you're saying.
I have to say, like, and this is where I'm going to sound really sexist, but I'm sorry, but my life experience makes me more tense around men. And so when I look at somebody who's going to overpower me, and if it's a trans woman or a woman that's just taller than me, I don't really feel threatened. I don't think it's a threatening experience. But if it's a man, I can feel threatened in certain situations. If I'm alone in the dark, if I'm, this and that and the other, if I'm walking to my car and my hands are full, I have to have the sense to pull my keys out before I leave the store, because who knows what happens in between. Like these are things that a lot of women have to think about because of how they're approached and if they can be overpowered or not. And I'm sorry, like it's kind of a weird reality, but and I hate that for men. I do. But like in that same sense, I'm always looking for ways to go, how can it be better for everybody, right? And so if we do like gender neutral bathrooms, in my mind, and if you do separate stalls, floor to wall, it kind of negates the whole fucking problem. Plus, I mean, who really wants to take a poo anyway in the stall? Do you know how much stressful it is? Like it's all girls sitting there and your girlfriends come to chatter and you're like, well, I really had to do a number 2, but now I can't because my friend's sitting across the way. I kid you not. One time I went to the bathroom and my girlfriend went to the bathroom at the same time and we were at a standstill. Just a standstill and time's ticking. I'm like, shit, she's not going to leave. And then she's like, you have to go poo, don't you? I'm like, oh God, no.
So
like she knows.
The thing is though, Spackle, like when we're talking about this, like the thing is that when we talk about the aspect of like when I go back to the aspect of biology, right? And males being, different than females in the aspect of like strength and bone density and all this kind of stuff. And I know, it can vary depending, but
that depends on the kind of strength, the person, their genes.
Right. But
I know a bunch of little tiny guys, and I know women that are way more muscular than I could ever be.
I know little tiny guys that'll beat your ass. You could be 6 foot fucking whatever, and they will knock the shit out of you, right? However,
I know guys that are little tiny guys that you could curl up in 2 seconds and throw on the floor, and they wouldn't know what hit them.
Yeah, the overlap of male versus female, like, is way more narrow than people make it sound like.
Stereotyped.
Go on there, Tex.
We were always taught that, like especially places like the bathroom and stuff like that, is supposed to be a safe space for the, the females that we care about, right? It's supposed to be the one place they can go in and not have to worry about, anything else, which they do, I know, but it's the way we're understood. So being someone, and that's why I was getting back to my point, is that being on guard 100% of the time, because the problem is straight males, right, are more likely to commit these horrendous acts than anybody else. So I am on guard, 24/7 when I'm out with my sister, my mother, my niece and nephew, that this is going to happen, right? I can't take a chance that it won't, to an extent. So, does that make sense?
Well, yeah, but so thinking that, like, statistically speaking, the people dressing up as women are not statistically the problem, right?
Correct.
So adding more,
yes.
Adding more panic about those people causes things like these witch hunts to happen.
But
right?
The thing is,
those aren't the people who are statistically the problem. So we need to statistically make our decision and not hype up something that really is not shown to be a problem.
Well, so Doc, can I call you Doc Ben? Is that fine?
You can just call me Ben.
Okay, Ben. So the thing is, though, is, and like I was saying before, is that it's not males who present as female is the issue. The issue I have, and coming back to my whole aspect of like
No, I know what you're
versus not.
saying. I know what you're saying. It's people that are self-IDing and going into the places.
Right. So I have no problem because like I said, like I know that you can be, biologically female and be very masculine looking, right? That's not what we're even considering. What I'm considering is that when you say that all you have to do is say.
No,
trans.
we're not. So we're not
go ahead.
even seeing that frequently, because people who are going to use the bathroom of their gender identity, like people who say that they are, usually are socially transitioning at least a little bit, because it's dangerous to be a trans person going into the opposite sex bathroom and not pass. It's dangerous. Like, and I don't mean that lightly. Like,
uneven. I think it's uneven.
Dangerous.
Though, right? It's uneven, right?
So we're not seeing, like, because theoretically, you could see somebody who self-IDs and is not openly socially transitioning. It's not likely. And I think here's the problem. We're in a zone of theoretically, this is what we would see if these policies changed. The problem is, theory only goes so far. And if we're wrong, it can hurt a lot of people if we go with a theory that is not statistically legitimate, right? So we have to be careful in imagining what would happen instead of looking to statistically what would happen, because they're very different things. And there's a lot of variables here that aren't really being accounted for.
Yeah, okay. And that's one of the reasons why I want to come over here to talk about this, is because there is a lack of, a gap in knowledge, a gap in understanding, right? And so I come over here to talk about these things because as a cis male in certain aspects, like specific things like we talked about, what I just talked about, right? There are an aspect because the transgender movement has become much more mainstream nowadays, and certain the way people see things, and it has become something new that I have to look out for in certain things. And the problem is you don't want to statistically things can be very low. Like statistically, someone breaking into my house tonight is very low, but if someone does, I'm not going to take the chance that they're here to offer me, Mary Kay or Avon, right?
But here's, I think this is a bit faulty.
You know what I'm saying? Like I understand. Like you look at statistics, but you also have to understand the aspect of understanding the statistics of why I see it, like how, like as a cisgender male sees this as a possible issue. Not women, not men, dressing up as women or whatever, or not. Putting on dresses or presenting more female is an issue, right? It's not
okay.
that.
So what you're, let me make sure.
Oh, sorry.
Let me make sure I got this straight. Or, well, I shouldn't say straight during this conversation. I guess I apologize. Let me make sure I have this correct. So what you're saying is your fear is not of trans people necessarily, but people using the disguise of saying they are a woman to for illegal or hideous or whatever disgusting gains.
Correct. Yeah, correct. So I have no fear.
Okay, but how are you connecting that to the trans community? What makes you think that person's trans?
So the thing is when it comes out to these like certain policies that are happening nowadays, because the aspect of being trans is becoming more accepted to an extent, right?
That's not my question, though. Why did you?
I'm getting there.
Why did you automatically go from this guy is wearing women's clothing, he must be trans? He could be an actor. He could be playing some kind of silly role in a Renaissance fair. He could be doing 50 different things. And why, my question is, why do you automatically assume he's trans?
Because of, like, that's what I was getting to now, is that there's this, more acceptance of understanding, at least what I'm trying to do, right, of trans people, right? But there's a difference between someone who is attempting to present, which would mean that they are, being serious about it, I guess, more, and like I said, being more, the intent is different than claiming it based on the aspect that you can walk into whatever bathroom you want, right? And so there is a difference, I think, at least what I've seen with people who are, and that's why I came back to the whole aspect of my question of presenting and how does that factor in? Because, when it comes to this understanding, when it comes to these things, and I hate to say this, but people are going to use it. People are going to use it for dastardly things. And maybe we're not seeing it, huge right now.
So that's a claim. So real quick, so that's a claim. That's a claim that people are going to do that without evidence or statistics to back up probability of that happening. Can you demonstrate that claim? Or is it just a claim?
It's just a claim. And the reason I say it's just a claim is because of the aspect that, like I said before, someone breaks into my house, right? It's just a claim that I assume that this person's going to do something,
Can I make a counter analogy? Because I think there's a faulty analogy here, because you're already going with someone who's already broken into your house. So that's not what's happening here. We're not, like, these people are not, like, if they're trans, they're not breaking into your house. Or if they're a cis person who looks masculine that goes into the women's bathroom and is getting harassed, is not the one already breaking into your house. Let's say, okay, so you have plenty of people that come to your house on a frequent basis. Let's take a delivery driver, an Amazon delivery driver. Okay, so let's say you could have people that are legitimately Amazon delivery drivers, right? Or you could have somebody who dresses up like an Amazon delivery driver that's going to break into your house. Let's say I'm so panicked about what if this delivery driver is going to break into my house that I call 911 on every delivery driver that's going to come to my house, or I take excessive precautions from these delivery drivers coming to my house because what if they're a burglar? That's the likelihood that we're talking here. Like, it's putting extra, unnecessary caution on something that is not likely to happen. What is the likelihood that someone's going to dress up as a delivery driver to come break into your house?
Let's also go into this part too, because I think this needs to be said right here while we're talking about the bathroom thing. So let's say we all have non-gender bathrooms now, right? You got a family bathroom at the end. It's got all the diaper shit in it. And then the rest of it is just a big bathroom with little bitty rooms with toilets in it. With a bunch of sinks along the wall. Fine. Urinals are in a stall, or you can put like a big stall down at the end for all urinals. If men just goddamn have to hold their penises while they're peeing, then that's fine. So, we can add that in for them. So doesn't it make sense to just anybody just think this? I respond if you want or not. Wouldn't it make sense that if you have a non-gender bathroom and you have men and women going out of the same bathroom, don't you think people are going to behave a little better?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, there's more eyes, there's more people walking around. And let me tell you, if you ever need a child defended, you find a 70 to 80-year-old woman, she'll die for a child. She will kill. I'm not kidding.
Mama's beating on the head.
Oh no, I agree. Yeah, I grew up because growing up in the South. Like, trust me, I get you.
Yeah, I mean, there was a Southern 85-year-old woman. Somebody broke into her house, and he had a freaking gun. And within 10 minutes, she had him on the floor with a baseball bat aimed at his head and her foot on his throat.
Yeah, but that's not average. That's one of the moments.
I'm just saying,
right?
Don't tell me grandma ain't gonna do it. I'm just saying, you never know which one will pop off.
I did want to add, part of Navy's questioning is definitely coming from, and I'm guessing here, but I'm going to say smaller town, maybe 15 to 20,000 people, upbringing when you were younger, and then maybe a bit bigger after. And, Texas. So like myself, interior of British Columbia, smaller towns, farming, agriculture here and there and whatnot around. I think for a lot of people, there's a little bit more context in that, in so much as historical teaching, so that, like I know for me, when I started integrating into social media, I was out of touch on a few things. So I just sat back and learned and started to integrate afterwards, right? No big deal. But, I think there's a little bit of that in the perspective, not stereotyping, and nobody start going, oh, that's not everybody. I know. It's one of those things you can't win, right? It's a can of worms. As soon as you open it, somebody's going to give me one on it. But I do believe it still holds validity, especially, growing up in the pre-internet era and when you're young.
Well, and the thing is this, though, is that even as an adult, right, you look at the statistics of women getting attacked, kids getting attacked, all this kind of stuff, or taken or whatnot. Unfortunately, there are, cis men in general, right, that are the progenitors and the main culprits of these acts, right? So I have to be on a swivel 360 when I'm out with my family, right? And that's not something that was, so what was taught to me, obviously, growing up in the South, whether or not you want to call Texas the South, we can get in that argument later on, right? But growing up in the South with Southern, Southern parents, Southern father, right? There are certain things you have a responsibility to do, right? And it's look out for, your mom, your sister, your, niece, nephew, and all this kind of stuff. So while that is part of the small town aspect, the adult aspect is understanding what Ben was talking about, which is actual statistics of the probability of someone who looks like me, right, doing something horrible to someone I care about. Go ahead, sorry.
No, go for it.
So
I'll chime in after.
I have to make sure that while it may be a small percentage or a 0%, that they don't become that statistic, right? That they don't become the one-off, right? That it happens. And so that's my job, to protect them.
So here's my question. Though. So if we're not talking about trans people, or we're not talking about people dressing up in a feminine way or socially transition. You're talking about someone you're talking about someone who looks like a cis man walking into the women's bathroom and doing something bad. Okay, so here's the thing. In order to do that, right, in order to use self-ID alone as an excuse, they're going to have to tell somebody, right, that they're self-ID. So you get somebody who looks like a cis man who walks into the bathroom, and then that implies that someone or multiple people are already in there for them to say, it's cool, I'm trans, or it's cool, I'm a woman, or whatever they're going to say. So this is a witness thing. And so what you would expect if someone were to self-ID, right? And if they were serious about it, right? So they'd say, hey, I'm trans. They walk in, they pee, they wash their hands, and they leave. So you have these witnesses already here, right? So I'm not saying that you couldn't, if you were supervising a person, or you were with other people, you could give them a look, or whatever it is you're going to do, be judgmental, whatever. But the fact is, like, they're self-IDing to.
But are they? I've never once had that happen in a bathroom ever in my life.
No, but Dick, this is the argument. This is the argument that Navy's making.
Okay.
Because
I was going to say, I've never fucking seen that before. I was just like, what? Okay, I missed something.
He's not.
I had to get up for a second. Okay, I missed something. I had to get up. Okay.
He's not talking about people who are dressing feminine. He's not talking about people who are socially transitioning or medically transitioning. He's talking about people who look like cis men, dressed masculine, walking in saying I'm trans.
It's like as if
or
Aaron Raw, picture Aaron Raw walking into the bathroom.
Saying
that would be me.
Because you would expect, so you have actions there, right? So if they go in and they pee and they wash their hands and they leave, they're not doing anything wrong by doing that, right?
Correct.
If they start attacking people, they are, of course, obviously doing something wrong. But the self-ID has such a little factor in this.
So if I can,
it's just a weird situation that you're laying out that like isn't realistic.
So it has become. I remember watching it happen. Like Target was, I think, the first, right? It says there was a policy that if you identify as, a man, or if you identify as a woman, the policy of this store is that you can use whatever bathroom you identify as. There's no one, asking, right? Because if they did, then that would become an issue.
Yeah. So nobody's asking. No, listen. So nobody's asking anyway. There's no bathroom attendant anyway. So no one has to claim at all that they're trans. If they want to walk into that bathroom and do something, they're going to do it. They can. Do you suggest we have bathroom attendants for them to have to self-ID too, or there's no necessity at all to self-ID?
I'd like an attendant to give me a mint, but not for this ID stuff.
It's an irrelevant point.
Right.
I think you kind of got to go with your gut too. Like if you see somebody that looks kind of fishy,
that's what this comes down to.
Go in after them because they're
that's what this comes down to.
They are bad news. So like.
Yeah.
But Sadie, this is exactly what it comes down to. It's reading the right social cues or miscues or lack thereof, right? I can spot somebody that's acting shady and obviously stealing at the grocery store probably faster than the damn rent-a-cop.
Yeah. When I was assaulted in October, and I live in Minneapolis, where I've been trying to I intentionally check myself not to be racist. And two men walked into the store and I knew there was something wrong, but I blocked my intuition and said, no, I'm not going to be racist. I started talking to them to try to get them to engage. And guess what? They had bad intentions. I think that at the end of the day, when something's not right because you can feel it in your gut if something's not right. And you should just go with, sometimes you have to go with your instinct and just be on alert. And that's, and it's not because I was being racist. It was because these people were bad news, and they waved a gun in my face. I smacked them and it was bad. So you have to just know when to, your inner self tells you when there's something not right.
The problem is though.
Well, most of us, some of it's broken.
The problem is though, the initial gut feeling, right? Okay. If I see someone who presents as very, cisgender male, right? My first gut feeling when they walk into the women's bathroom, that's my first gut feeling, right? Is why are you walking in there, right?
So how about you walk in after
the gut feeling based on
cultural teachings.
So if you followed them in there though, even if you followed them in there and they peed and they left. Okay, cool. You went and you watched them. You made sure they weren't doing anything bad, but you didn't need to kick them out of the bathroom for that.
And I get that. I'm not saying I don't understand that. What I'm saying is that you have to understand that there is a gut instinct.
No, I understand that, and you understand that gut instincts can be wrong, right? Yes. And maybe we should not promote having false gut instincts, right? We should promote accurate information.
But accurate information is that cisgender males are more likely to attack females and children.
Again,
right?
But statistically speaking, I made all my points already. It seems like you're holding on to a very unrealistic situation just because it feels right to you, even though it's not a very realistic position. Well, so what has you holding on to it and not Like what's the thing that's making you stick with this point?
My, what's a good way to say it? Like my gut instinct to an extent, right?
Okay, so is a gut instinct a good way to evaluate truth? Should that be your main reason to hold on to your position?
Not 100% of the time. Not 100% of the time. No.
Okay. So
but
is there a better way to
like
evaluate
family,
this?
Right? Like it's one thing if we're talking, you and I, like we're talking here, and
I get that, but should we make policy based on our gut feelings of a situation? Is that a good idea?
That's where the variation comes in. I think that's where the problem is that there's no aspect of an aspect of like fair. Like fair is not. We can't. There is no fairness because it's not fair.
We're not talking about fairness. My question was, should your gut feeling be used to make policy? We're talking policy.
Is my gut feeling backed by statistics?
No, not necessarily that. We're not bringing in the statistics. No, the question is because you said your gut feeling was what is holding you to this position. So is your gut feeling your gut feeling something you should base policy on? I want a yes or no answer.
That's a hard question because a lot of people feel convicted, right? Like there's a conviction.
Well, that's why I'm asking. That's why I'm asking this question.
Is that so? I have a question though. Can I ask a qualifying question, right?
Yeah.
Before I answer yes or no, if my gut feeling is based upon statistics.
No, I'm getting there.
Okay.
But you said your point was that your gut feeling was the main reason holding you to this position. Right? So if the statistics are what is holding you to the position, then I'd rather you say that you're going off the statistics and then we could go from there. Right?
Yes, my gut feeling is holding me. Yes, my gut feeling is holding me on this. Yes.
Okay, so is your gut feeling what should be used to make policy?
But that's a tough question, Ben, because that gut feeling drives Christianity and it makes policy all through the South in the United States. I mean,
not necessarily.
I get what you're saying.
Hang on. I need to run interference here just for a second. You're talking to a person that is an intelligent person that holds an intelligent job in the Navy. He's not just some grunt. He's not a dumb. He's a thinking man, right? So I just it's a fair question what Ben's asking, but don't assume Navy's
I'm not assuming he's ignorant. I'm just trying to get him
to
get to the point. I'm trying to get you to Yeah, I'm trying to get you to understand my point. Because what I'm trying to do is to point toward what is the reason you're holding on to this view. Because if this is a correct point of view, I want to have it also. If you have a good reason to believe what you believe, I want to also believe it. But I want to make sure that we're at a reason that is reliable. And I personally do not think a gut feeling is something we can make policy on. However, I do think, like you were saying, that your gut feeling might be related to statistics. So in that case, we should probably just throw out the gut feeling and just go with the statistics, right?
Yes, I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where I'm going with this. So does that make sense?
No, of course it does. And that's why I was like, yeah, I see where you're coming from now. Yeah, I do understand what you're saying. And so how do those statistics for you play into policy, right?
Right. So we got to calculate them. Right. So before we jump straight into saying what is the risk for these people in this hypothetical situation, it's hard because we don't have statistics for this exact hypothetical situation. And one of the main reasons why is because it's very infrequent and hard to to really gauge that. But it's
so my question for you on this aspect, if you don't mind, I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yeah.
Right, is as these type of policies, and I'm not talking about like the gender neutral bathrooms and all this kind of stuff. As these policies, like I said, I use Target because it was like the first store that did this, right? As this grows, okay, as this becomes something that is more broadly accepted among, private business and all this kind of stuff, when do we start taking the statistics into play to be more preventative than reactionary?
Well, so we need to do the statistics, right? And not just run off and, say, well, I think this is going to happen. Right?
Well, one of the things I don't know if probably, Ben, you've read this studies on conservative brains and liberal brains and how how actually different parts of the brains are, and you have to forgive me because I don't know the different parts memorized, but there's the part of fear and how our primal processing of like fear is developed and how it is actually very developed in conservatives. They're very, 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 and it's just how they are. They're very aware of what could happen, the potential of what if. And liberals have that center of the brain actually smaller typically. They are not as worried about the what if. They're like, let's try it. And so you actually aren't just dealing with somebody's upbringing and somebody's religious notions, things like that. Literally, there might be the way their brain works is I'm more protective in the what if, kind of thing. And so when you deal with people that have the what if X happens, and it kind of I know that slippery slope is a fallacy, but there is that fear that folks have is like, if we try this and it gets worse or something else happens, then are we going to be able to undo what we tried? Does that make sense? How would you answer that to a conservative in these kind of situations?
Well, yeah, and that might require a different approach. But
I understand, like it's nothing against trans people, right? And the Spackle described it perfectly, right? There's a certain aspect of what I understand of how things happen in this world with, the females that I know, the amount of things that happen, the statistics on what happens, right? And that directly impacts my view on how I see every situation. Does that make sense?
Well, here's a problem though. The fact that I think you're also taking statistics from one scenario and applying it to a totally different hypothesized scenario. And not taking into account the certain variables that are different between those two scenarios. Right? Like probability isn't just a
But the problem is the assumption, though, right? Like that there are.
Yeah, no, and that's the point, and that's why these discussions are important. And I love that you're asking these questions because I think the assumption is something that needs to be overcome. The question is, I guess, here's where we I guess Spackle is chiming in is maybe the approach to talking about the assumption needs to change for certain people. No different ways that will persuade different people. It needs to be different.
I understand that, but when it comes to, I'll put it this way: when it comes to the outside aspect looking in versus the personal aspect coming in, right? There is a different reaction to how you see a situation, right? Where you see the threats, where are the threats coming from, right? It doesn't matter where you are, okay? So you're in the army, right? Correct?
Yep.
Okay. So you've been taught multiple times that depending on where you are, you're in a dangerous zone or not dangerous zone, right? So the way you perceive threats, I'm talking like open doors, shady people, all this kind of stuff, becomes an aspect of that, right? It becomes an aspect of who you are. Like you don't stop, okay? So that is how I see, like I said, I use Target as an example, but it's everything, right? So when I'm out there with them, I'm on a swivel 360, right? Situational awareness is at its height. Okay. Right. And you understand this as well as I do, because you've had this training, the training, right? For situational awareness to look and pick up upon cues and all this kind of stuff. Right. And there are certain things that are generic cues that you see that tell you this is a person I need to watch. Okay. Even before I joined the military, they're like, I was working in a farm ranch store. There were people that come in who were meth heads who would try to, buy things. There was a genetic profile, not genetic, but a generic profile for what these people were, what they looked like, and all kind of stuff, right? And it puts your head on a swivel. So I don't understand the lack of understanding of putting my head on a swivel in those instances, because of statistics and the understanding, when you understand that the majority of this happens because of this group of people, right?
Yeah, no, but again, you're taking one scenario and applying it to a totally different scenario, and not factoring in the fact that we're not talking about people who are self-IDing. Like, you're talking about the people that most likely do this, and we've talked about this. Most likely to do this are cis men who are going to do it anyway, who aren't claiming to be trans.
Or they claim it in the moment, if asked, right?
To whom? To
whoever. They walk in. You're a guy while you're in here.
But we already established that they don't. There's nobody attending the bathroom for them to.
There could be another person in there.
Yeah. Okay. So like we went over this. So they. Like, do these people walk in and they're just gonna say, yeah, I'm trans, and then like
I get where you're coming from, and I understand what you're saying. I do, and I
like we went over this. This is such an unrealistic situation, and so the problem is, like, yeah, you're the training. Like, I get that there's an instinct there, and there's training there that you've been taught over and over again to think this certain way. The problem is the way you're applying it is not a good way to look at this situation, because you're using one context as an example of what the risk is, but applying it to a completely different situation. So the risks they don't even translate.
So there's no risk, is what you're saying? Or is there?
No, I'm saying that you're conflating like the risk of one thing happening that we know is to be a high risk, and applying it to a different situation with an extremely low risk of happening.
Okay. No.
And saying that it's the same probability, which is.
And you know what? I'll take it back and I'll think on it.
No, definitely think about it. But I appreciate you asking these questions, and appreciate your willingness to talk through it, because like so often people aren't willing to talk about it. And I know I can come across as harsh sometimes, but like,
hey, we're
it's
both
not
military
intentional.
Guys. We're both military guys. Like, you're not gonna hurt.
But I appreciate your willingness to discuss it.
Well, and I appreciate your willingness to allow me to put this out there so that we can break it down and discuss what's going on, because so many times I've run into, when I try to bring this up or anything up, right? Especially with the aspect of trans people and all this kind of stuff, that I get shut down so fast that I told Spackle, I was like, I'm nervous.
No, man, no reason to be nervous here.
And well, yeah, you say that, but then it's me.
Yeah, but I'm real.
Spackle. Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm gonna let other people talk for a little bit.
I
love this.
I do have some stuff to say here.
I just wanted to say something. I think the fact that you're here is there's something that you want to understand more, so that I don't know how to explain it, but like I just feel like you
it's more than
definitely
that.
thinking about it, and
it's more than that though, Sadie.
Yeah.
he's showing up to actually learn a thing or two, because there's no argumentative, there's no nothing. It's all just okay, you know. Like there's been a couple times where first the question is, you know, questioned, and then the question is answered. I would have done it the other way, answer the question and say, now why the fuck did you even ask that? But either way, he's fine with it. It's all right, you know. So I say hats off, good job.
Okay, so let me break in here before anybody gets too crazy and gets off on another tangent, because I know how we are, which is fine. It's been a great conversation, so I'm not bitching. Okay, so the first question I had lingering in the back that need to be asked. Nerd Angles asked, what could other parents look for to know if they should have a conversation, for instance? So I guess Ben and Sadie, if you have anything to add to that, what should parents look for? I guess, man, that's a tough question, because
for me,
so many kids are so different.
Yeah. With my oldest child, it was literally life or death because she was suicidal. So I had to intervene and to talk about it with her. I know that if we hadn't gone to therapy and hadn't dealt with it, it could have been bad. With my youngest, I let them lead.
Yeah.
And it's just depending on your child. You have to just be aware of like any issues where they could be suicidal or depressed and intervene. There's times where you just have to sit back and just like wait for them to come to you. It just depends on the kid. That's my
philosophy. See, I'm not a parent, so I'm going to be quiet.
Okay, this is what I have to say about it. Number one, I'm going to say is this. If you think your child is trans, you don't walk up to them and say, are you transgendered? When they are ready to come to you, they will. If they go to someone else first, that means they're probably afraid of you being disappointed in them, and it is not an insult to the parent. Kids always go to their friends first and talk about stuff. It's okay. They're feeling it out, getting their friends' opinions, try to figure out how to approach you. That's their support system. Don't be offended by it. And when that kid comes to you, you say, okay, let's sit down and talk about it so I can understand where you're coming from, so I can help you. That's all you have to say.
With my oldest,
will fall into place.
Yeah. I had to do that a little differently with my oldest because she was already going by a different name at school, and I had called her by her given name to a teacher, and I think her teacher assumed that I already knew.
Okay.
So but it was more that my child was seriously depressed. We were looking, like, I had teachers that were concerned about their safety. So that's why I did come out and I said, do you think you're trans? What's going on? You can talk to me? And I just let her know that if she wasn't, it was fine. But if you are, please just talk to me. And I have a really good relationship with my kids. And they told me that, yes, I think I'm trans. So we went to therapy and we dealt with it. And
there you go.
She got through it and she decided that she wasn't trans. But like I supported her through that so that at the end of the day, when she's like, oh, I'm not, she was at dad's and she's like, can you just tell dad that I just want to be Maddie again and I don't want to be trans? Sure. I'll just tell him. And she said, I don't want to answer any questions. Just tell him to call me Maddie. Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah. See, the thing is that, people go, oh, well, see, the kid wasn't really trans. No, it's just part of finding out who you are.
Right.
See, the thing is that I think some of the things that screws up a lot of people in this day and age is that so many people are used to the old way of thinking, and these kids these days, they have more information. It's literally at their fingertips. I mean, we have more power in a shitty old flip phone from 10 years ago than we had in computers when I was 10. Yeah, so, things have come a long way, and kids have different ways of expressing themselves. They have more ways to communicate with each other. They have more time to talk that way. We go to each other's houses like maybe 2 times a month during the school year, maybe. And then in the summer, a couple times a week. So we had to catch up with each other every summer and learn who we were again. That's just part of being kids. And people instantly go to the worst possible case scenario instead of, hey, well, at least you guys learned something and the kid learned something about themselves. That's the lesson here. We
And
don't
I
need to
also
worry
want
about
to
the rest of it.
I want to say something about the comment earlier that it's more prevalent today when in fact it's not more prevalent. It's just more understood.
Same with
And
autism.
kids
Absolutely.
have the ability, they have the terminology to understand themselves that people from our generation and like the Gen Xers, the boomers, they didn't have
Yeah.
that. They didn't have the support. They
That's
either
right.
died of suicide or they're coming out now in their 40s to 60s. So
Here I am. You
I
nailed
think
it, baby.
that like we can't say that it's more prevalent now. It's just more understood and more accepted, and it's safer to be out than it was in the 60s, 70s, 80s.
The reason I said it's more prevalent is not an aspect of it being more common, but more in the aspect that because of the aspect of social media and all this kind of stuff, it's more out there.
It's more out there.
Yeah, I
and
mean
it's
that's
more
all it
talked
is.
about.
It's
Yeah.
not that.
That's what
it's
I meant.
not that
Like,
it wasn't going
I
on.
apologize for like saying it's more prevalent. It's not like, I'm saying that
Yeah, it's more
it
obvious.
happens more now than it does before. But the thing is,
No,
that
it's
it's
just more obvious.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, Navy,
Yeah,
in
Navy,
our
let me tell you.
conversations, like, oh, sorry. Beck, you go first.
Yeah.
I'll keep my thoughts.
Yeah, because I'm really short and you guys go on and on. So let me go real quick. Just as a side note to it attached, we're going to addend this conversation. My Nana told me, my Nana was 92 when she died. Little, 5 foot nothing Italian lady, big nose, dark hair, blah, blah, blah. Like she was definitely Italian. And she was a little freaking firecracker. But anyways, so she was telling me a story. She said when she was 15, no, I'm sorry, hold on. She was 17 years old and her sister were 18, and they would come home from school. They grab their instruments and walk to their music lesson. And mind you, my Nana at 17 would put this in 1934. Okay. 1934. So they're walking down the back alley. They always walk down, and there's this guy dressed in like a tux, and he's got one of those server trays, and he's got champagne on it. And he's like, ladies, hey, come on, you want to come be a judge? We're doing a beauty pageant. And my Nana looked at her older sister, and she goes, oh, I'm sorry, we can't, because we have to go to our lessons. And he's like, well, how far away are they? She said, oh, they're right up the block. And he said, well, we're not starting for an hour. And they no, well, that's when we're finishing our lessons. He said, all right, we'll come back by here and I'll wait for you out here and we'll get you in and help because we just need a couple judges. We're short on 2 people. And they were like, okay, fine. So they ran up the road to the lesson. As soon as they finished, they ran back to the place. The guy's standing out there in his tux with the champagne. He gave him some champagne, brought him inside. At this point, it was the last minute. All the lights were dimmed down and the lights were only on the stage. And this is an old, think of a old, juke joint kind of bar, you know what I mean? Like it's wood everywhere and there's the spotlights and blah, blah, blah. So they go through the whole thing, finish the beauty pageant. They judge it. They got a free meal out of it, got all the champagne they could drink. They were freaking happy. And then everybody turned the lights on and they realized that every single woman they judged that night were all men. 1934. That happened in Boston. So it's this, it seems new. God, it's not new. It's not new. We have somebody in our community, and I wanted to bring her in here, but she doesn't like to go towards the religion end of the discussion. And I thought we were going to, so I didn't want to bring her in and then her say, screw this, I'm not talking about it. She's brilliant. And she started her transition 43 years ago.
Oh, wow. That's a story.
That's Jenny Morgan.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know some of that story. Yeah. I was just I was thinking in my head, fuck, I know a few of them.
She was, everybody loved her before she transitioned and she hated her life and she transitioned and everybody hated her. And then she felt good about herself. And then she ended up lonely because it wasn't okay back then. She was part of the people that paved the way to where we are today. And I have absolute 100% respect for her.
Trans
She's
women are the leaders of
yes.
the Pride March,
absolutely.
largely in the 70s. Yeah,
absolutely. It was gay men and trans people, back then they called them cross dressers, but it was so much different back then. It was like people were finally coming out in public to figure out where they were in the world instead of having to hide and not knowing who they are fully. So it was a big step. That's all I have to say. Carry on. I do want to ask, actually, Navy, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah, shoot.
So how do you, where are you at in your head as far as this discussion goes? Is there anything we have like confused you about? You don't understand what we're saying. We don't understand you, any of that shit, anything you want to go over?
No, I don't think, I think we had an amazing discussion tonight.
Oh, I agree.
You know, the thing is that if you're not willing to get out of, you know, because most of my friends are, you know, well, that's not even true, because Spack will tell you that I'm in Discords where most people don't agree with me. We have arguments all the time, right? And so I strive to get out of any kind of echo chamber.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I hate them.
And because, I mean, you can't grow as a person, right? Like, how are you supposed to grow as a person if you're stuck around people who think and agree with you all the time? Like,
that's what I'm saying.
And when I say echo chamber too, my definition is a little different. It's not just those people. It's just all of it. It's all of it. It's the ones that don't want to listen to anybody else and they only want to hear themselves talk, or it's the ones that are so deep in their religion that they can't even see, like they won't even look at it and someone in the LGBTQIA umbrella like that. That's just not even, they don't exist. Those are just horrible. And you just can't talk to those people. No. And honestly, Navy, this is the hump that Ben and I keep coming to. It's hard to have a discussion with people that really don't want to discuss. So you coming in here and being honest and being frank, being respectful, trying to word your questions.
Frank? I thought it was Navy.
No, whatever. His real name's Frank. I know it. No, but I do appreciate you doing everything you did. I feel like you were, you know, as respectful as you could be with bringing up the topics and being in the position you are.
Well,
I do appreciate it, for real.
You know, I thank y'all for letting me in, right? Because I have questions. I have things that, like, you know, I have to think about, things I may, you know, never agree with you on about this.
Yeah.
But what I know from tonight is that there is a place, okay? There are people that I can come and have these discussions with that are not going to automatically label me as a certain thing, right?
Yeah.
And
no, we would never do that.
I know, and that, you know, and Spackle told me this ahead of time, like you know, I told you, you know, before, I was a little bit nervous. I'm like, I've done this before, not in, you know, on YouTube, but on you know,
Twitter's the worst.
And in other, like, you know, Discords where, you know, I mentioned something and I'm just like attacked, right? And this has been one of the best discussions I've ever had. And there are things that y'all have brought forth, like Ben has brought forth, and you know, and Sadie's brought forth, that I want to go back and think on. And so I thank you for allowing me on here.
Absolutely, man.
Job done, Beck.
So, you know, I'm not, like I said, it's not necessarily going to change my perspective on things, but the thing is that there is a place that I know, or people I know now, right?
Yeah.
That when I have these questions or this back and forth, I can come to, and it's going to be a civil adult discussion.
Yeah, right? Absolutely, man. Yeah, no, and thank you for that. I appreciate you also, you know, realizing that we are all trying to be fair, honest people. And honestly, I will tell you that assholes don't hang out here because I don't put up with them.
Good.
And when they come in, I give them a warning. I give them 2 warnings, 3 strikes, you're out. You're not coming back. And I don't let people in on the panel until I've known them for a little while. Sadie was actually one of the ones I let in quicker than I do most, just because I enjoyed, you know, the banter with her.
Well, I thank you for letting me on the panel.
There's pretty defined rules of engagement, like almost like a social contract here of like, lay your sword at the table, at the door.
Yeah, we don't do that.
Have a calm conversation. I leave, well, Navy knows as much as anybody. I'm in neck deep in battles on Twitter and stuff. I lay that all the way down. I just like shut that down. Like I'm at a table with some friends and I'm having a conversation that is friendly and chill.
Yeah.
And maybe I don't always see things the same way, but at least I can and it's not usually these issues I have differences. Sometimes my political stance is a little more, I'm not authoritarian left, I'm libertarian left, and like like there's these little
wow, that
finesses,
sounds
right?
confusing and twisted. I'm
There's-
libertarian left, lean to the right, only on the south end of the right beach. I don't know. Okay.
Libertarian left means like on the left side, I'm less likely to vote laws that are you ought to, you have to.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I know. I was really just kind of being
But I'm not a libertarian. No, Ayn Rand is the devil.
I told you I'm trying to learn how to be an asshole. Yeah, right. I told you, Spackle, I'm trying to learn how to be an asshole, so let me work on it. I'm just trying to get there. I'm trying to be a smart ass. So someday soon I'll be an asshole too. So anyways, anybody we got let Navy talk a little bit and Spackle talked a little bit. Ben, Sadie, anybody have any final thoughts on the subject?
I just want to say I appreciate that you're here talking to us.
Oh,
and allowing us to hear.
Thank you.
Or allow us to talk to you about what we do, like what it's like.
Yeah. Yes.
SR, that is the real debate.
Yeah.
I had a whole rant.
I like it.
I had a whole rant with Cynthia on Facebook because like the people from Chicago are all like, you can never do this, and it seems very,
I do it.
It's like I don't care what you do to your hot dogs, but don't be telling everybody else that they're wrong for liking something that you don't like. It's a hot dog. Like it's a hot dog.
No, when it comes to placement of condiments, there is a right and wrong, and I'm sorry, but you don't defile a dog with ketchup. What the fuck is that? No,
delicious.
just no.
I love it.
No.
Again. So here's my problem, because people have cultural ties to certain food, right? And that's fine. And people have certain
these opinions are funny, though. This isn't an actual argument. Nobody cares, right?
But it's also like but for people from
he's
Chicago,
gonna do pepperoni or pineapple on pizza.
I like pineapple.
I do pineapple on pizza.
That is blasphemy.
That's the war, is pineapple on pizza. And I say it rules.
What about what they call
disgusting.
Japanese ketchup that all the Americans put on their Asian food because they think they need
sriracha?
Sriracha, yeah.
No, the soy sauce.
Oh, I like sriracha.
Oh, soy sauce. Oh, yeah, it's Asian. Oh my God, you're right.
Japanese
it's kind of like
the reason.
It's kind of like if you go down south and they want to dip everything in ranch. Everything.
But here's the problem with the.
Calm down. Ranch is good. Calm down.
And where are you from, sir?
I'm from Texas.
Okay, yeah, right. Like I said,
gotta
the South
have your
loves to
Wingstop
use ranch
fries
on
with ranch.
everything.
No, but here's my issue. Here's why I think the hot dog debate is slightly different than the pineapple on pizza debate. Because the pineapple on pizza debate is like it's a taste preference debate. The hot dog debate is a cultural debate. And so it can no, listen. At least in the US. Let me talk.
Like the most excited about this shit.
No, let me talk. So at least here, like the primary people that are so the primary people that are perpetuating this hot dog debate are from Chicago. And here's the thing, with many food things, and this is the same thing with the burger debate, like people's favorite fast food burger chain. It's all based on listen, can I talk? Let me talk. You all
Come on now. We were all being
rude.
Nice. I'll start kicking people. Who was that?
Because I have a case.
It looks like Navy left.
No. Navy left. Well, he said his goodbyes. I think we just he just knew we were going on a tangent and just gave up. I don't blame him.
No, so here's the reason why the argument is so passionate for a lot of people is because it comes down to nostalgia, and it comes down to your cultural upbringing and what ties you to certain foods. And so like it's one thing to say, yeah, I have a taste preference of pineapple on pizza. It's another thing to say that my culture is the one that matters, and your nostalgia and your culture is the one that's wrong.
Dude,
that's the issue here with the hot
no,
dog
it,
debate and with
no,
It totally is. Like
no, that's
Chicago
absolutely
pizza
it.
to New York pizza.
Hawaiian pizza isn't
no.
the same. I mean,
It's based around the fact that everybody knows that what they like is what they like, and they have no right to say something sucks. But it's funny as hell to do it and start the war, right?
No,
that's what it's about.
I was gonna say
in
Whataburger.
the U.S. it is that like people bring culture into this debate, and then when I was having it on Facebook, people were bringing culture into the debate.
Okay, hold on. Everybody pause. Everybody pause. Navy came back in. So we didn't know if you just ditched, man, or you got booted. Oh, okay. All right. We were like, man, you didn't say goodbye. Shit.
He's like, Whataburger. I was like, In-N-Out.
Whataburger, yes.
Dude,
In-N-Out.
Whataburger. I got a story about that place. I worked at a call center for a bit. I was there to be tech support, but I had to do 30 days as one of the actual call center people to make sure that I knew better than just the technology, right? So that I had the full picture. And I did the midnight shift because I was never meant to be good at the job, right? And I had this drunk person from somewhere in the States on the phone demanding that I give them the number to Whataburger. But the way this person was saying the name was Waterburger. So I even said, look, I can't find this. So is this how it's spelled? Waterburger. Yes, find me the number. Doesn't exist. So I hang up the phone, and I'm just like, yeah, I guess you can't win them all. And the dude beside me goes, hey. And he goes, it's called Whataburger, and it's one big long name, and everybody fucks that one up, pal. But I had no idea. I'm from Canada. We don't have that place. I had no idea.
We got our first Whataburger literally at the beginning of this year, and the line for the drive-through was so long that they actually cut off about 100 to 150 yards from the main road that passed this, little shopping center that the Whataburger was. The funniest thing was, though, like a week later, I was hanging out with a buddy of mine, and I mentioned it to him, and I was like, yo, Jimmy, did you hear about this? You see this Whataburger, man? And he was like, yeah, I mean, I've had it before. I didn't care that much. And I was like, yeah, me either. I didn't go. But the line of people. And he goes, yeah, the weirdest thing was you could just fucking park and walk in. Like, there was nobody inside.
Fuddruckers is a pretty good burger place.
Yeah, I used to call them red fuckers.
It's not bad, but it's no
when I lived in
opinion, but I don't like water.
Hey, wait, whoa. We're not starting that, folks. We're not doing that anymore on my channel. I am done with people. Everybody just take a deep breath.
Can I give a piece of advice? Tell everybody to turn up their headphones a bit, because when people talk over each other for more than 2 or 3 seconds, it's because they can't even hear that somebody else is talking. Y'all don't have your headphones up enough. I went to audio engineering school and played in bands for years, and trust me,
what I want you guys to do is turn your headphones up all the way or a lot, and then turn it down on StreamYards, and that will balance it out a lot. Trust me.
Your headphone volume.
If you have your headphones down too low, you'll talk over people and not hear them. And I had that happen the other night, and this guy's all mad at me because there was 10 people talking at once. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, you need your headphone volume to be as loud as your resonant voice in your head, and then you will interact as if you're in the same room a lot more naturally. Very true stuff.
Right. I had no problem hearing people. It's when you look for an opening and everybody else looks for the same opening. That's the problem.
Okay, well, when that happens, I want everybody to pause for a second. And then one of us will say, okay, so-and-so go. Whoever I hear get that word out first, that's the person I pick every time. I don't play partials. So,
can I go?
Go.
Whataburger's better than In-N-Out, just saying.
Blasphemy.
I haven't even had Whataburger. That's what I wanted. See, now you got me saying
It's
water.
Okay.
Whataburger. I've never even had it.
I don't like
it. Neither have I.
They're both just okay.
What do you like,
price
Ben?
range. Five Guys.
Ew.
Five Guys is good.
Yeah, they're good.
No, Ox is right. Ox said, give me a handmade burger from some hole-in-the-wall bar, better than any name brand.
But
Yes,
that wasn't.
sir.
That's not the debate though. The debate is the fast food burgers.
I know. I was just saying he's right.
Can I say
Because
something?
it's always the family-owned places
No,
are
you
always
can't.
going to be the best ones, but that's not the same category as the
Yeah,
fast food
there's a
places.
small place near me that has the best burgers in town.
It's called. Oh, you mean just a local joint?
Yeah, it's the local place.
Oh yeah, those are the best
Always
places,
is.
yeah.
Always is.
The
Actually, when I lived
Juicy
in
Lucy.
hi Mike, when I lived in West Virginia, I moved back there as an adult to help out my nephews, and there was a little place right up, like not even a block away from my nephew's house, and they sold like hand cooked, set up, ready hot dogs, and they were like the old soda stand hot dog. You guys know what I mean?
Oh,
The real chopped onion, the fresh done relish, the homemade ketchup, homemade. I think they made everything except for like their mustard or something, but everything else was homemade in the place. And you couldn't even find a bottle of ketchup. It was all like the restaurant squeezy, flip over, shake it out bottles because they made it all themselves. You couldn't find a brand name in the fucking house on anything. And it was amazing and just the best fucking hot dogs in the world.
There was a place growing up called the Glass Kitchen.
Okay.
And it was a family-run hamburger place. They made everything by hand, including the buns. And they would toast the buns, and they would cut the cheese themselves, like from blocks of fucking cheddar cheese. And it was just the best hamburger you've ever had.
Yeah, it's the way to do it, man. It's just like doing it at home. You're just paying somebody else and keeping their bills paid while you're enjoying your shit and you ain't got to clean up. That's how I see it.
Y'all got to come to Minnesota and have a Juicy Lucy. Those are the best burgers.
Those are
wow,
so good.
what's she
Those
like?
are
Is
so
she
good.
like brunette? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
It's where
sorry, I
they
got
put the cheese
distracted.
in the middle of the burger so that when you
Oh, I was gonna
bite
put some
into
cheese
it,
in
it melts
Pinky.
cheese out of it. It's so
Pinky.
good.
Oh, sounds good.
It's so good.
Mhm.
We lost B.
We don't have most of that stuff in Massachusetts. We don't have Sonic either. I didn't even know what Sonic was until I was in the Midwest. We don't. I mean, our weather's so bad, you wouldn't be able to do. But I've enjoyed Sonic. But we have ads for Sonic. I mean,
We
we'll see
had-
ads for Sonic. We don't have any.
Yeah, we
No
had
idea what
Sonic
that's
here, but I never ate there.
They have great drinks, terrible food.
I don't
What's
like
America's
their
Can I
food
just
either.
say-
I agree.
Okay, since
So-
I'm back, I just want to say really quick how funny it is that my internet chose to cut out at that time. It hasn't cut out this entire time. And I started talking some shit and being a fucking male douchebag, and it kicked me out. So I thought that was absolutely hilarious and apropos. Carry on.
I just want to say right fast, nobody goes to Sonic for anything other than the drinks and the dessert. Because Sonic
The dessert, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and their
Their food's kind of gross.
their cold drinks are fucking amazing. Some of them are really good. But
Ocean
yeah,
water.
Now we
We
need
lost him.
closure.
So I
And
said
there
ocean
he
water.
goes.
Ocean water.
I think what Beck was about to say was that Sonic's food may not be great, but of all the fast food
And we
places,
lost
Dairy
him.
Queen,
Already.
Dairy Queen is.
I've eaten
The
at Dairy
best
Queen.
French fries is Wingstop. We call them crack fries because they put like sugar on the fries.
I agree 100%.
Your
they're so
Wingstop
good.
might be better than my Wingstop because our Wingstop had so much oil in the fries and so much oil inside the chicken that you could shake it and hear it slosh.
The Arby's
Ugh.
fries are pretty decent.
I
Hey, I
wish
like
I was at
Wendy's.
Arby's. Better food and cooler people.
I
Oh,
don't
that's
like
from Baby
Arby's.
Mama.
Have you seen this page on Facebook? And I feel like SR would find this to be hilarious. It's called Nihilist Arby's.
Nihilist Arby's. What? What?
I've
Go
seen.
to
I've-
Facebook. And no, it's so funny. It's so funny.
What is it?
They're
What is
going
it
out of business.
about?
It's like Arby's, but like because if you're gonna pick any fast food chain to just be like, yeah, nihilism, it's Arby's. Like it
Why?
just is.
Why?
Yeah, why?
I'm gonna pull up the page because I gotta share some of these memes. It's so funny.
They have a Twitter too.
I
They have
didn't know
almost
that there was a
400,000
philosophical position
You guys
of
are all
Arby's.
making me hungry.
That's what I'm saying. I'm glad I ate before this.
Like
I
look
might
at
have to
look at the
order
memes
Uber.
SR. It's funny.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the Tiny Tummy song?
No.
I'm gonna share it in the side chat.
I guess their new content isn't as Arby's. You got to find one that's like an actual Arby's meme.
Hey, a beef and cheddar is great. Like I'm all for that. Like if you're gonna make some joke on Twitter and sell me a beef and cheddar, like I'm on your team. So
okay,
easy to win over.
Real quick, my internet's going to shit. I don't think I'm gonna be able to come back in for a while. So if I get kicked out again, I love you guys and I appreciate you guys and thank you for the amazing conversation and all the shit and have fun. And I'm just gonna sit here and chill till it boots me again. Carry on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Gotta say, Tex, you sound like Johnny O, YouTube channel The Plot Hole. You sound like you would be his brother. You know, you really
That's
do.
so funny. That's so funny. I know Johnny O, yeah. I don't know him like personally, but I know of his channel, yes.
I know him, and the only thing missing is his Shure SM7B microphone with his nice preamp and stuff to bring up the bottom and tops and whatnot. Like, seriously, you would sound exactly like him if you had the mic and shit, man. Totally. It's funny.
Okay, I need to. I found a page that has the best of Nihilist Arby's, and I'm just gonna share this because these are funny. Oh, hold on. I have to apparently go to my system preferences for my laptop to let me share my screen.
There, it's Bucko9. That's the song, and so it lists like all the fast food restaurants in my city, San Diego.
There's stuff like this.
Okay, read this. Read it. We need.
Okay. What should our next menu item be? Pizza, tacos, bags of blow, fettuccine? Just kidding. Arby's isn't interested in your opinion. Enjoy Arby's.
I like that. I really do. I appreciate a large company like that, like not pandering to me and trying to be like Delta Airlines cares that it's Pride Month. Just being like, hey, we're Delta Airlines. We're gonna have shitty seats and you're not gonna enjoy it.
Ben,
we're Delta Airlines.
The next two are funny.
You got to read that next one.
Yeah, the second one here. There's no God, so why not worship our smokehouse brisket? You literally get the same results. We aren't mopping the floors tonight because fuck it, all Arby's locations will eventually be destroyed in war, sucked back into the sun.
All right, I like that one.
Written by Michiu Kaku.
With the Arby's I've been to, they do actually clean the place pretty well.
I like the Arby's. There's almost never a line here.
Oh, it reminds me of the Waffle House. Who's been to a Waffle House?
Of course.
I think I might have been to one.
I've never been to a Waffle House.
Oh,
the way you know, the way you know a storm is getting worse is if a Waffle House closes.
This
Yeah.
one.
They made it. Go back one, Ben. They made an Eddie Murphy joke. Put G.I. Joe up your ass. That's Eddie Murphy's gag, man.
I like this next one. Want to feel old? You were a non-sentient nothing for infinite time before you were born and will soon return to that state. Enjoy Arby's.
Yes. Okay, whoever this is, they're brilliant.
You'll die if you don't eat. You'll die if you do. Arby's, we have some sandwiches and shit. Your fate is sealed. Die, be full when you do.
Beautiful.
So true. So true.
Like this is honestly the kind of like social media parody account that I would expect for Sexual Rarity to make.
Yeah, SR, get on this. We need like a, I don't know, a anti-realist in and out.
So my biggest problem, and this isn't just like with social media, this is just kind of life, but it's like I have a deep sense of apathy. And it just hardcore prevents me from like doing most things because it's like, oh, I could go get groceries today. or whatever. Just at some point, I'm sure I'll find food. Like, and that's
this is why this sounds like you. This is why these tweets.
No, it's why I love this.
You would say.
That's why I started following them on Twitter. Like,
like I'm not convinced that this isn't SR.
Yeah, I would be making so much more money. Like, I would at least have at least 2 other shirts by now in rotation, right? You think? Y'all know I've only got like 6 shirts. I would have at least 8 shirts if I was making, enough money to run this Twitter account.
If I had the extra $12, you watch,
dude. They're getting expensive. They're like a whole $12.50 these days. Like,
I think Spackle will understand this one. I heard that Popeyes is like the best cuisine.
The best.
Popeyes
cuisine?
is fantastic.
What?
I love
Popeyes is fantastic.
Sorry,
Chicken burger.
Come on.
Popeyes is love chicken.
I'll give you a hint, Spackle. Ronnie.
Oh, Ronnie, Rocket Ronnie. Dick, do you know Rocket Ronnie? You might have known Rocket Ronnie.
It really sounds familiar.
True empiricism. He was the one that said DNA is water. Water's DNA.
Oh, dear God. Yes, I remember that now. And thank you for reminding me.
Yes.
And Steve McRae went on about it for a year.
We don't talk about him here. We lay down our sword.
I was just going to say, easy now. Let's not do that.
Also, I'm in
what? I'm sorry.
I'm in charge, everybody. Just so y'all know, I'm in charge now.
DNA.
You are.
DNA and water. There's DNA and water. He kept saying.
DNA dissolves in water.
Yeah.
Are you fucking serious?
Well,
no.
I know you're not, but they are. They're.
It separates in water.
Oh.
Isopropyl alcohol.
That's why when you see that Game of Thrones joke parody that they did, it says DNA and water in the water. That's why it says that.
It precipitates.
Well, don't worry about it if it dissolves in water, because the water remembers it.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Homeopathic
if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the precipitate, right? So
that was good. That was
really good.
Oh, you can extract DNA from strawberries with your kids. It's fun.
I want some homeopathic Arby's.
Is that just like watered down Arby's to the point that like, so you take a roast beef sandwich and then you like pull out most of the roast beef and then put that roast beef into another piece of bread and then pull out most of that roast beef and then put that in.
And they pour orange Kool-Aid over it and call it cheese sauce.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't eat meat that looks iridescent. It just grosses me out. Sorry.
Sadie, you really need to live a little. Like, you only get one life. You might as well try some glow-in-the-dark meat.
Have you ever eaten public school roast beef? That's what Arby's reminds me of.
Yeah, that's my childhood. That's why I love it.
I didn't eat it.
When I was a kid, I grew up. I'm number 5 kid, and we weren't very wealthy. And at the time, Arby's had this really affordable deal where you could buy like 5 or something crazy. And they
5 for 5. Yeah.
They were known to stack a ton of way more roast beef than you should have in a sandwich at that time. They completely changed, but they used to do that. So my mom would buy a bunch of those and then use it as lunch meat during the week, and it was actually a better deal.
I mean, there you go. Okay, I need to pee real quick, but y'all can chat. I guess Dick's in charge.
Remember when we were trying to identify the dessert at the school lunch? We asked the school cafeteria lady, and she said it was peach cobbler. We couldn't tell.
Am I the only person on camera? Nick, what happened?
Oh, I can turn it back on. I figured everybody was sick of seeing me. What can I say?
There we go.
Yeah, I've been trying to turn mine on for 5 minutes, but StreamYard seems to say that I don't have one, and yet it's in front of me and the light's on and it's connected. So well done, StreamYard. That's bang on.
So it gets really big.
I'll turn mine on when I retire.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets really picky if you have to select OBS or XSplit or virtual camera.
Well, but I stream live shows 4 nights a week on the shills. Like some shows, we have 1,000 people watching live. I'm really good at tech support. I did it for years and whatnot. And StreamYards always just says, "Sorry, jerk off. You think you know what you're doing? I'm gonna fuck with your shit." It's just I don't get it, man.
It even picks on people's icons occasionally. Goes, "I don't want to load your icon. Fuck you."
Yeah. I don't get it.
Whoever referenced the Shure SM57, I'm very proud. By the way,
that was
I'm a
me.
sound engineer, and I want to say that the 1066 DBX would be the best.
There you go.
Option for yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Right now, Mike, I'm using an Audio Technica AT 2020, and dollar for dollar, it's the best mic for podcasting if you don't have big bucks.
So you're using an XLR cable, and are you connecting it to like a soundboard, or are you connecting it to like a Scarlett or something like that?
A Behringer preamp. I picked this cheap little Behringer. It's called the UM2, specifically because it can draw enough power from a cell phone to be used on remote. So if you wanted to, go and interview somebody, you've got live monitoring, double mic inputs, and it'll run off a cell phone as well. And its preamps compared to a Scarlett are about 90% as good. So it's definitely worthy product.
I know the brand Behringer. I know that, but what's it called?
It's the UM2.
UM2. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, badass little unit. Way underrated.
All right.
And I mean, you're hearing it right now, so
I had to bounce out because I had to go to work in the morning, and so I'd just like to say that thank y'all for having me on, right? And it was a great discussion. I hope to have it again because there's other things I have questions about that we have another stream, hopefully, right? Mm-hmm. But thank y'all for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
Navy.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
I can speak for Beck on this for sure. You will definitely be coming back, and I can't wait to talk to you. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Cool.
But so y'all have a great night, and it was a great discussion. And then Whataburger is best.
You had to drop bombs. You couldn't just leave. Just had to drop. Okay.
That's a good way to do it, though. I mean, I appreciate that tactic.
Yeah, but Nick, that speaks of his psyche. He had to hit and run.
Exactly.
He's taken a swing because he's Texan, I'm California, and we're the giant states, and like they are so passionate about Whataburger, and we're so nutcase about In-N-Out that it's like a big.
I've had them both, and they're both really
they're both very similar.
Yeah, something that if you died tomorrow having never had either of them, your life was full. Like it was complete. Like you're fine.
Yeah, but you're apathetic.
Well,
I've had them both. I can't tell the difference. Again, we don't have them in Massachusetts. I've only had them when I've either traveled or I was living in Sandy for a while. I can't. Okay.
I've never even heard of either of them, but then again, I live at least 3,500 miles away from any of them too, I suppose.
Yeah, but I'm not totally convinced that there are like other countries and time zones and stuff like that yet. So, I mean, some people have been presenting me with arguments, but I'm not convinced. Pretty sure it's just like North America, and that's about it. But
I really would have had nothing to
offer
to the conversation, but I'm sorry.
Sorry, your position doesn't work without using my worldview. My worldview being based upon the England being the center of all time zones.
I see what you did there.
That's a good point.
I see what you did there.
That's a good point. That's hard to get around.
Borrow from my worldview.
Yeah. My worldview being the world is round and it circles around, it starts where I live.
Cube Earth for the win.
Circles around Greenwich. That's interesting.
All right, Mike, I want Mike to be able to speak a little bit.
I just want to say last thing. Greenwich, especially when it's been horrible to you. Greenwich Mean Time? Sorry.
Yeah.
I got All right,
can Mike speak?
Very, very mean time. Yeah. It was my aviation days. Oh no, I really had nothing. And thanks, Ben. I listened to the whole conversation, and the only thing that I really thought I could even offer was I'm 42 years old, and never at one point in my life did I go into a bathroom thinking I want to check out somebody else's junk. Like, I couldn't give a shit. And I just like, I don't even understand why. You guys had a really good conversation about it. And that was, damn it, Nick, I can't be the only one on camera.
He's talking to another human, right?
No, it was a
I can
really...
turn mine on for you.
Oh, thank you, man. Oh, see. No, so like I said, I really didn't have anything to offer, but I just thought it was like so educational, so much information there. And never once did I think that deeply about it because I couldn't give a shit. I've never gone into a bathroom and thought I'm going to look over and see somebody else's junk. Like, I don't fucking care. So anyways,
that's a good point. You shouldn't even be looking.
And why would you? Why would you? Like
Man, I think
always
the
figured that was
vast
mathematics.
I
majority.
usually go into a public restroom so I can fucking pee.
You know, five guys don't line up at the urinals and look over at each other and go, okay, who's hanging the best here? It just doesn't work that way, man. You know?
Yes.
You need to come hang out where I hang out, Dick.
Not sure I do.
But yeah, I mean, I totally agree, Mike. Like, the idea that in the instance of a totally public bathroom that hundreds or thousands of people maybe are using every single day, the idea that every average person isn't trying to just run in and get the fuck out as quick as possible without doing anything to anybody, or like I've met guys at the sink before. One guy was in the stall. I was standing at the urinal. We both happened to finish at the same time. We walk up to the sink, and the entire conversation was, "Hey," I'm like, "That's it," because yeah, we don't want to. There's no reason for me to be in here long. Like, "Hey, what are you doing? What do you do for a living, man? How long you been there?" I'm like, no.
Yeah, as somebody who who has used both bathrooms in my time. I think men have a serious misunderstanding of what women's restrooms are like. So when you go into the women's bathroom, you don't see what anyone else is doing because we don't have urinals in there.
Yeah. The big
you go, you do your thing, you wash your hands and leave.
Well, and I can say many times that I have like going to a grocery store and the men's bathroom is occupied. Yeah, I use the women's bathroom and it smells more pleasant. But yeah,
better paint job. Yeah, better paint job on the walls. Generally some art.
And then an alarm went off and went,
yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, the difference is that using the women's toilets, you don't sort of end up with that sort of sticky, tacky footprint. You know.
That just kind of that's we do that specifically to let you know where you've been, you know, for the day. It's like a reminder that you can you get home and you kind of like you look down, you take your pants off, and you're like, what the hell is this? Oh, that's right, it was at Target today. Yeah, it's a good place.
Oh, that's so wrong, dude.
I would say, having you both, that the biggest worry for the men's is worrying whether you're going to get a trickle, I don't know, stop or whatever. You know what I mean? You'd like, oh my shit, it's not going. Come on, I need a wee, but I can't wee. Why am I having performance anxiety about taking a leak?
Mm-hmm. Come on, Joey, work with me here. What are you doing, man?
I'm sorry I brought this up.
No, I think this is great, Mike. What other topics you got? What else are you feeling?
You guys had a wonderful conversation, and it was just like that was all that kept going through my mind. Was like I kept thinking like,
Tex.
Damn, I can't remember one time I gave a shit about. Well, I don't care what's in your pants. Like it makes no difference. Yeah. Anyways.
For me right now, this whole moral panic against trans people is driving me up the wall because it's constant all the time, every day. And, you know, the exact same bullshit that they came out with, you know, in the 80s where, lesbians shouldn't be allowed in women's bathrooms because they'll molest children and, you know, women and girls. You know, those are exactly the same things that are coming out today. It's just recycled bigotry.
I don't remember that argument, but then again, I was just a kid in the 80s. I don't remember that, though, being a real thing.
Yeah, me too.
And as somebody that was watching for most of the chat, I think that's what's so important about these types of cordial, respectful, pushing back discussions, is because there is so much yelling on either side about every little thing that we could possibly, and there's no just genuine human connection where we just giggle about toppings on hot dogs, right? You know what I'm saying? Like it has to be, if people really give a shit about making the world a better place, these are the type of discussions that are going to do it. It's not the ones where we're yelling at each other and calling each other fucking assholes. And, you know, I understand why we want to do that. Believe me, I earlier today got cut off in traffic, you know, that was it. And I was like, this fucking piece of shit isn't worth living, you know, but of course that's not true, you know? And so toning down that like hardcore yelling, I think is incredibly valuable on a lot of these topics.
Well, and there's different types of stages of where folks are and
For
positions they are, and there are some assholes that all you can do is go low at. but that's not where you want to start out. You want to start out with mutual respect, like a social contract. I respect you, you respect me. Start there, and when somebody just completely proves themselves to be an asshole, then if you're troll, you're troll.
Well,
Yeah,
there's something I want to say.
I don't care that much.
I actually use that as a standard thing. You know, it's treat everyone with respect until they prove they don't deserve it.
Right.
So there's an aspect.
But at the same
interrupting, right? So go.
Oh, I was just going to say, but at the same time, trust is earned. Go ahead. Sorry, Tex.
So jump back in to say one thing is that there's an issue with who we are nowadays because we define ourselves, and I'm talking about as a Christian and all this kind of stuff. People define themselves by one aspect of who they are, right? And because of that, they hold on to it so hard that they fight for it as if it was like life or death. And the thing is that it's not, right? It's an aspect of who you are. It's not all of what you are, right? And go ahead, sorry.
Well, just, I mean, from the perspective of a trans person, unfortunately, right now, it is life or death for us. And there's a reason why, like, I don't want to have to, like, I personally go stealth most of the time. I don't tell people because, like, and the reason why this is such a big part of my identity is because I have to fight for it. I do not want to. I don't want this to be hanging over my head for the rest of my life. I just want to exist as a man. But unfortunately, people do kill people like me and like Laura over this. People do take our rights away. This is life or death for us.
Yes, and the one thing I want to say is that being someone who's been cisgender his entire life, right? And having to, over the last 20 years of being in the military, okay? And you understand this as well as I do. The aspect of like, don't ask, don't tell. Like, it was still in effect when I joined the military, right? So the thing is that when you understood that somebody was gay, lesbian, and now trans, is that it's a part of who they are. This understanding and putting out there that it's a part of who you are, but there's more to it, like the aspect of like having discussions about like physics or you know, your favorite reality TV show, right? And I know that like I get what you're saying, but also in the aspect is that when people understand that there are not you, but people understanding you get to see that there is a diverse aspect to it, then there is a humanity that's associated with it. Does that make sense?
Do you mind if I just kind of shout back real quick what I think you're saying, Navy? It sounds to me like what you're saying is that as we have continued to look at human psychology and just how people interact in the world and talk to people, we've all got enough experience at this point with different people, right? It seems that every individual is very complex, and trying to break any one person down to a single aspect is limiting, and it isn't the best way to have conversations or engage with people. Do you feel like that's
no 100%?
And I totally agree. I totally agree with that. I think one of the things that is really helpful, though, so I am, as somebody that is cishet white guy from Tennessee, you know, my experience is very different from, say, a black trans woman that has also lived in Tennessee, right? I mean, and I think it's important in that understanding of the complexity of people and that there are multiple aspects, to say, hey, this is an aspect that I truly don't understand, and especially if it's something that seems to be very much attacked just from the outside for like no reason whatsoever. I know too many people that have just woken up in the morning and just somebody told them they're a piece of shit, right? For not, like, didn't say anything, didn't do anything to this person. This person just said, because of who you are, this one aspect, just totally limiting and breaking this person down to a soundbite. They say, you're a piece of shit and you don't deserve to live.
Well, it's
and
like,
in those, and I'll finish up right now. Okay. In those moments, I think it is so difficult as the individual that is experiencing that not to be super focused on that, because there are so many other people that are blatantly saying, not only am I limiting you, but I'm also comfortable if you would just die because of this, you know, or advocating for your death. But anyway,
yes.
Well, it's like the old adage, what we don't understand, we fear. What we fear, we try to destroy.
Well, and the thing is that the moment we find an aspect of commonality, right? So as a cisgender male, I don't understand the aspect of homosexuality or transgender understanding, right? Okay. However, what I do know is that when I speak to people who are, you know, part of the LGBTQ, I don't know the entire acronym, but, you know, is that when we sit down, we talk, and we have the discussions like we had tonight, right? Where questions can be asked, there's no assumptions thrown around, there's no accusations thrown around. We realize that you can, in the aspect of where you're going to be assumed to be something and get, you know, accused of being something, right? That there is an aspect where I'm the same way, because I've been called, you know, transphobic, homophobic, because maybe I don't agree with certain aspects. But when we come together, we realize that we are, right, humans talking to each other. We may not be alike, but as long as we come down and talk to each other as humans, and we ask questions like, I don't understand certain aspects of trans culture, right? Please explain it to me, right? Well, that's where you break it down. And I understand what you're saying with the aspect of like the violence and all this kind of stuff. And of course, I don't agree with it. But what I'm trying to do is show that there is a capability for that to happen.
There is, but also thinking about this, like, because sure, there are some people like you who are more willing to have a conversation. And there are also people who really aren't. And no matter how they, like, a lot of them might approach a conversation even very, very gently and very honestly. But the problem is, a lot of those people that you have that conversation with will still go and vote to take your rights away, take away your right to healthcare, your right to be you. So, like, it's one thing to be like, yeah, well, we all can find common ground, and then that's great. But the problem is, even if we find that common ground, these people are still walking away from the conversation, taking away my ability to be me. And there's a point where we need to be able to, like, because having this aspect of my identity coming to the forefront is not something of just, yeah, like this is something I am, like I'm going to talk about it to everybody. No, this is a way to let the world know that we exist and we deserve to be here. And unfortunately, we have to keep saying that because we have people that vote in ways to try to silence us. And so if we let them silence us, we're not able to make any progress. We're not able to just exist. So this is why, like, it's important to us to do that. And it comes, there's a long time for a lot of us to even get to a point where we're brave enough to say, yes, this is me. I know before I transitioned, I went through a period of thinking, no, there's no way I could be trans. There's absolutely no way. And I was terrified of what if I am? What if I am and my parents kick me out? What if I am and I get murdered one day? These are real thoughts that go through my head, and it takes a while to say, yes, this is me, and I'm going to live this way. I'm going to embrace who I am. And it's really, really hard to do that.
Took me 19 years.
Is great. Common ground is great, but this is why this is so important.
And that's the reason why I say, I'm sorry, Laura, or do you want to say something?
No, I'm just sort of poking out that it took me 19 years from me understanding what transgender was to coming out and living it. It was always because it was always, what will people think? What will my mum think? Neighbors, friends, colleagues, etc.
Well, Ben, throughout recent history, let's say post World War II, right? You've had groups like the rockers that came around, Elvis Presley and so on, and people that were outsiders and considered, not cool and stuff by the mainstream, and then were eventually selected. This whole where we are now with the LGBTQ plus movement. Sorry if I missed any initials. Is there any chance that we could have a vote and say like the rainbow community instead or something? It'd be a lot easier on people like me. I got so many acronyms with my son being on the spectrum and stuff. My head dances. But anyway, that's another issue.
I stopped at Q because I can't remember anything else.
Yeah, neither can I. I'm screwed then, right?
Yeah,
but
we could probably boil it all the way down just to Q.
Right.
My point is this, though, is that these conversations we're having, right, with someone like myself who's more conservative, who has a certain aspect of understanding of what, the LGBTQ, AIP people are going through. To understand that there's an aspect where, there are these extremes and there are the ones that you just want to be recognized, right?
Well, it's more than recognized. You want to be seen as accepted as everybody else in society. Right. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
That's it. That's it.
The recognition is
right.
Not special treatment, but
right.
But
No, okay, hold on. Let me just finish the thought I had there. So, throughout history, we've had outside groups that were eventually accepted by history. Punk rock became Green Day and it became cool and modern on the radio and stuff. But the modern LGBTQ plus,
I swear to God.
Yeah, no. But hold on. This is where it actually becomes real. The modern LGBTQ plus community are now pushing that level of society's acceptance to the level it always needed to be pushed in the beginning, because now we're at a point where we're at a critical junction. This is no longer just, I choose to have long hair and listen to rock and roll music. This is a lot more intrinsic and deep into the person. And we're pushing some angles of society who are dead set religious or old school or rednecky or whatever to an extreme they've never been pushed before. I would say that on the whole, society is doing okay, but it's embarrassingly slow, and we should be doing a hell of a lot better.
Yes. And yeah, go ahead, please.
Because I actually would disagree with that. If you go back to, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Brideshead Revisited, it was pretty commonly accepted, like all kinds of gay and lesbian and all these fraternal and societies in the UK. I don't think that it's gone forward in that sense. I think it's gone kind of back and forth, hit and miss, where it's never mind. I'm doing a really poor job right now, as always.
Breathe.
I think one of the things that's worth remembering here that people, it's all about identity. And the thing about it is people identify themselves as all sorts of things. Navy a short while ago said conservative. He just used the word conservative. I identify as conservative. And we all identify with multiple things. You know, for you guys, you could say American. And so it's like nations, political points of view, you know, and of course, you know, sex, gender, all these things. These are just labels that we use to define who we are.
Well,
and the problem is that people are now saying, no, you're not allowed to define who you are, transgender people. You know, I mean, last year, 57 transgender or non-conforming people got shot to death or killed by other violence means in America. Most of them being black, you know, trans women.
Well, if I can give my take on it, is well, using Navy here as an example, you want to be treated as a guy. You want people to refer to you as a guy. You want to present yourself as a guy. It's really no different for someone who's trans. It's just the only difference is we physically, you know, have that perception already built in, whereas they have to, you know, they don't.
And I'm sorry, I really did miscommunicate that. I was talking more about like homosexual rights and what nothing to do with trans rights. So that I totally screwed that up. Sorry.
And to just kind of go back to what Ben kind of said a minute ago, and please, Ben, tell me if I was, you know, mishearing you, but I think one of the things, especially in the United States right now, when it comes to anything legal relating to trans people, it seems to be the case that there is a pretty intense push right now from a certain group in the United States that is hardcore going after people simply because of them being trans.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that isn't everybody, of course, but we have to decide where is the line between us seeing, say, the litter in the public park, right? All the trash on the ground, and us talking about the best thing to do to clean up the trash and how to fund cleaning up the trash. And should we get the little stabby poker things or should we get the little claw things? We need to have that. At what point do we just start picking up the trash? At what point do we just start doing the things that are required to actually make the progress that we have been talking about? And that's a hard line. And I'm not saying I know that perfectly for sure.
I'm sorry I bounced out because my phone was acting up. But the thing is that one thing I understand about being in the military, and I know Ben understands too, right, is that seeing something other than like a target. Okay. One of the reasons I come in here is because it you know, you get this aspect of humanity coming in so that you realize that like people are people, love is love, and all this kind of stuff. So if I can keep pushing that by coming in here, by people seeing me come in here and do this and talk and have these discussions, that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. We appreciate the good conversation, and I hate like ending things like this, but like I'm actively at Army training, and I gotta get up early, and I wasn't even planning on like streaming, but I happened to have a little bit of time. But
you heard it here, folks. Student Dr. Ben is a shill for the military-industrial complex. You cannot take anything he says seriously.
Well, apparently I am too, because I'm active duty military right now. So
oh, you both are. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. So I like we can continue the conversation backstage, but I think I'm gonna have to end because Beck left because of internet issues. So I happen to be the only other person with the power to control the stream. So we're going to end it here, and we can keep the discussion going backstage, but it just won't be live in case I need to hop up. So
keep in mind, if you bounce out, you won't be able to come back in. So that's kind of the thing.
Yep. So thanks everybody for watching. Uncle Beck is in the chat. This was a great discussion, and just remember everybody to stop in on Monday evening for Oxic Transcalinity, as long as Beck's still doing that. Actually, real quick, something to Shell, I guess, because normally I would have trivia going on Fridays, but as I am not in a place with a stable schedule, I think Beck and Bolt are trying to set something up for the weekend. So stay tuned for that. We'll see you all next time. Bye. Everyone.
Thanks.
Have some peace in your life or something.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm not Beck. I won't steal Beck's tagline.